It's going.
We're Hattie. It's a new
What?
year or whatever.
Oh yeah, sure is. Everything feels changed.
Yeah. You feel like a new man?
Yeah,
Nice, because I know that the government's gonna actually this year go after the fraudsters.
yeah. They're gonna get them. All
So,
that's changed. It's in the past.
so I figured out something that I'm surprised James Lindsay hasn't figured out.
What's that?
Um, it's in. Oh, fuck. I had a whole thing. I was gonna say. Fuck, I can't remember. It was in the way to distinguish, to actually say who was woke, right? I I had it all figured out.
Oh,
Now it
you
just
figured it out, or you were going
no
off of this thing?
no I figured it out. I figured out why James Lindsay can't define the woke right to anybody. It'll come to me at some point. I can't remember what it was though. So
Something he's doing wrong, or
yeah, no, just there's a really easy way to do it, and I'll it'll pop in my head at some point in the next couple hours. It was gonna be a really funny way. It was gonna be so funny and so accurate and honest, but then I forgot it. So just
I don't know how to tell which it is or what it is, but I think the problem is the whole right's not the same, but he's not wrong that every single one of them has some issue.
oh, I remember.
They
Okay,
just
okay.
all have a little bit of a different issue.
Here's what it is. Um, how did like the one link between the woke left and the woke right is their opinion on in like 1700s America who should have been picking the cotton. Like that's it. That's the way to do it. You gotta if they're like, nah, the colonists should have picked their own fucking cotton. They say they come at it from different reasons for sure, but they're they're James Lindsay style woke righties and then traditional woke lefties. If they complain about who picked the cotton,
Yeah, I guess I could see that.
yeah.
That's
No,
the wokeness.
obviously the wokies will be like because slavery's evil, and then which yeah it is, and then the woke righties are
So
like
they're not here in the future.
yes, so they're not here, and we would have flying cars and shit like that. I figured it out.
Yeah, I saw one of them make like an AI video of some guy going into the past of the time of the slave trading and telling them to stop, and it was like a one of those racist righties. It's like you don't know what you're doing, you know. But
the real racist version of that meme is the slave ship coming to America in the 1600s, and the colonialists being like, "Turn that ship around! You have no fucking clue what you're bringing here." But then the response from the slave ship is the greedy merchant rubbing his hands together, saying, "I know exactly what I'm bringing here."
That was Candace's. I guess we didn't get a ton into the whole TPUSA drama last week, even though it was already a little bit late then. But her big last thing, because she's been off for like 9 days, was going hard after Ben Shapiro. But even beyond that, telling all of Black America to look into the slave trade and see who really did it. And she like suggested some book that I guess goes into it, and she's insinuating the entire slave trade was done by the Jews, and the main owners of the Jews were that. And so you should get off the Muslims, and you should get off the white people, and you should go. All of Black America should hate the Jews. And part of the issue with that, and I've looked into it before. I think we all have. We kind of chit chatted about it, but yeah, Jews were a big percentage of that.
Oh yeah, they're always a big percentage of whatever population is super successful.
Yeah,
and you'd have to imagine that the slave traders would be a pretty successful demographic of the population.
Well, I mean, there's weird percentages because, like, you know, of course they huck it all at the white people, and they said something like actually like 2%.
Oh yeah, it's very low.
But they said almost 50. I read somewhere that almost 50% of Jewish households had them. So like there was hardly any Jews around then.
Whoa, wait, 50% of Jews? Are you? I could understand the. I could understand that 50% of slaveholders were Jewish, but 50% of Jewish households had.
There weren't a ton of them around, and the ones that were
Yeah, I
around
guess.
were rich. Because I mean, they weren't really around here in those eras. I mean, most of them even came over after like the pogroms and all that stuff in the 1800s. But the thing that was weird about it is, so like the most generous thing you could say, because if you're just looking at who actual owners are, it's just like any sort of 1% thing. 1%ers actually own most of everything. You know what I mean? But so some people said, well, yeah, a bunch of people who weren't the owners, but they still benefited from it. But I saw some people really go into detail about anybody who possibly could have benefited from having like a live-in maid or some sort of getting out of work for something because it was in their life in some way, shape, or form. And 10% is generous of people in the U.S. And it surely wasn't my ancestors that were doing it, but I mean, I've got to.
Yeah, I mean, my ancestors on my dad's side, the ones that have been in America the longest, have been like Virginia white trash since like the late 1600s or some shit like that. So every time somebody's like, your ancestors did really shitty things, like, well, first off, that's not a good argument, because somebody I've never met did something terrible to somebody you've never met. Also, my ancestors didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, even if that was a good argument, they didn't do it.
But you benefited from them, and people going all sorts of stuff about, well, the U.S. built its wealth off of that time frame, and it absolutely didn't. I mean, one of the reasons the North was more industrialized and able to conquer the South was because they weren't using the slave trade. And then secondly, there's all the stuff about how they went around and burnt down all of the wealth and gain after the Civil War that was created by those slave owners and all that sort of the scourging of the South. And so
That not sound, maybe that's like reparations.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if we're talking reparations, what was it? The British Navy would just go out there and sink slave ships for like 100 years after they had abolished slavery. Like
they forced it on the world, like all their colonies and all that stuff. The ones that didn't want to give it up.
That feels kind of like reparations, Yeah.
But I mean, that's actually not terribly off topic for the time frame, because Elon Musk has been signal boosting like a bunch of videos about who were the biggest slave traders in history, and the United States doesn't even make anywhere near the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people try to say, and nor did it go on for that long. There were some that went on 900 years and stuff like that. And some of the reasons there aren't a ton of kids from like the Ottoman Empire is because they'd castrate their slaves and that sort of stuff. And well, I mean, that's one thing that those right-wing time travelers could have gone and said, well, you should get in the castration thing. But that's why it didn't really happen here. But I mean, I think I have the click of it here. Like Dean Cain was retweeting some Elon Musk did just about the hold on here, I've got it. Oh, it's a CGI, it's a slop video, but I don't know. This is the exact stuff that Candace was saying right as she was signing off, because she was going scorched earth on Ben Shapiro. Here it is.
Largest slaving civilization in history, and in equal tenth it is Abyssinia. The Ethiopian Empire ran for 700 years, from 1270 to 1974. It had a cumulative total population of 207 million, of which in the early years 10% were slaves, but the number fell to 2 to 4% in later years, according to Haile Selassie's slavery advisor, meaning 9 to 10 million.
And the entirety of like the slaves like in the United States, I can't remember the exact number, but it's like 4 million or something like that.
People enslaved. In 10th equal, it's the Umayyad Caliphate. In barely 100 years, between 661 and 750, this Islamic empire enslaved some 10 million across North Africa, the Eastern Mediterranean, and the Middle East. In 9th place, it's China's Qing dynasty. This one hinges on your definition of...
One of them has like, it was 50% slaves in it.
Jesus
but people say the U.S. was a specific kind of one because it was the first one that did it based on race. But then, I mean, I saw this other post by the gal, but the first person, when they were first initially bringing slaves over, they were actually doing it initially with the concept of them being indentured servants. And one of the first person to take to court keeping their slaves for life was a black slave owner. And
yeah, so I can imagine that if I'm like in ancient Rome and I'm just a normal Roman looking dude and I'm a slave for my entire life and I'm in the middle of just getting whipped because the yield of the crops that I slavenly harvested wasn't quite what he wanted that year, I'd be like, ugh, ugh, oh God, this hurts, but at least he's not doing it because of the color of my skin.
Yeah, I mean, that's all the post Civil War morality. There's Troy saying Happy New Year's, Port Timer. Happy New Year's, everybody's hanging out tonight. We experienced big growth this year, like 20% growth. We
Holy
went from
shit, yeah.
8 people to 9 people here a full poker table. We went to one short, and now we got a full poker table every week. Yeah, I don't know why we're jumping off talking about slaves. I mean, I guess the news, but
It's
Candace pushing the stuff, and it all goes back to the Jews. But yeah,
that's Sinatra saying Candace is controlled opposition. I don't know, man. I think she might just be equal parts insane and retarded.
she's wild. I mean, the stuff that she was signing out on, she got that guy who said that Erica Kirk and all of his team showed up at Fort Huachuca 2 days before the murder or something like that. I agree with Alex Jones on what he says about it. If just the concept of that is stupid, that 2 days before they all fly down to Fort Huachuca, like a whole big group of people to say, let's do a murder on Charlie Kirk. Like he says any sort of assassination is way more compartmentalized than that. There's no way, even if that guy did see him.
You get fucking Alex Jones. It's got to be the most insulting thing in the world when your entire brand is built on conspiracy theory, and you get Alex Jones be like, "Oh, look, this right here is just a fucking retarded conspiracy. You should feel dumb as shit, Candace."
But people are throwing shade at Alex, and Alex says that he has proof that one of those guys was back earlier, and there's video of it. And people said, no, it's not. It's not proof that he's back. It's not good video. And now Alex has controlled opposition and all that sort of stuff.
Alex Jones is controlled up. Okay.
But and he calls into question the whole timeline. But worse than that, there's all sorts of weird stuff about the guy making the claim. He's got like a changed name because he was like convicted of wife beating like several different times and all this sorts of deals. He's like a weird dude. And so then I saw Jimmy Dore and our boy Kurt Metzger, but Kurt is so off the deep end with. I give Kurt a little bit of a pass because he's just conspiracy brained all the way through and through, and I love Kurt. But they were exactly saying the exact. I mean, as soon as people started questioning that this guy saying that he saw that whole group of people at Fort Huachuca, and his life, they said, well, if you're questioning him, we must be over the target. And that whole deal of as soon as you point out something's retarded is proof that it's right. I mean, that whole kind of that whole framing, people got to get better nuance with that, because you have to be able to stop and go, wait a minute, that part sounds retarded. Retarded, huh? Must be over the target.
Hope you enjoy your 7,000.
Anyway, and then she's been off all these days, and I don't know, just Alex freaking out and them freaking out, and I don't know how much more Candace is going to be able to drag out and make that keep going. So, but all the back and forth fighting between Shapiro jumping up there and shitting on Tucker Carlson and Fuentes and Megyn Kelly and all that sort of stuff, which is kind of weird because Shapiro, I think they did kind of demonstrate that Shapiro wasn't Charlie Kirk's favorite. And then the very first thing he does at the start of TPUSA is fling turds, and it just set the whole thing off and turned it into WWE wrestling kayfabe match. Like that TPUSA was a shit show, man.
Oh, it was. Well, and I don't know, like some of the people he goes after, like some of his rants make sense, and some of them are just ridiculous. Like it at this point, it seems like I don't know. I'll listen to Shapiro on a lot of things that he says, and I'll tend to agree with him a lot. It just with the Israel stuff, he just seems so so completely. And the thing is, I'm not even like against Israel, you know? Like, if anything, I lean more Shapiro than Fuentes by a decent margin. But with the neocon types, it's like you can't even question Israel. It feels like telling your companion, like, I don't know, like your mission companion, I don't know how I feel about this whole, like, we're not ever allowed to look at outside sources thing.
Yeah.
Because his rant against Candace was pretty good, but it's almost like he's treating Candace, Tucker, and Megyn Kelly like
Well,
they're
that
the
grouping,
same
that
level
whole
of retarded.
grouping thing, like I know it's just easier and it's more short form to like just quickly do something, but the grouping of all these different interfighting people, like Fuentes hates Candace and thinks Candace is an idiot, and now Alex and Candace are fighting, and Tucker and Nick are fighting, and then just to like group them all in as one thing doesn't really make sense to me. But I don't mind if you want to shit on all of them, but to try to like make a group of them is doesn't make sense to me.
Well, luckily, the Trump admin is successfully disguising this from the American public by having them focus on Somali fraud instead.
Sneaky move by
Yeah, good. That's a good move, guys. Yeah.
Just real quick, because we'll probably talk about Smallies for a while. Yeah, the Tucker, his response to Shapiro was I mean, I think I was kind of interested in that. It's fine. Everybody should be able to talk. Everybody should be able to have their opinions, and we all should be able to just ask questions. But that questions thing, like I get irritated at the crowd of saying, I'm just asking questions. And then the other side just says, it's fine to ask questions. But there's absolutely is a nuance. I hate the nuance in there. That yes, it is 100% fine to ask honest questions. But yes, also, some questioning is obviously an inference, right? You're inferring, you're not questioning, you're inferring something. And when you're doing that, you're not just asking questions, you're inferring a thing. And that's all Candace has done for 3 months. And then said, well, I haven't said anything. She even got pressed. I have the whole link of it, but I probably won't pull it up. She got pressed by somebody in one of her lives on Twitter of what that whole meeting is supposed to be about. On what was that whole meeting supposed to be about at Fort Huachuca? She's like, I never said it had anything to do with anything. It's just interesting. It's just interesting. I've never said one thing about it being anything. He's like, but you're inferring it means something. No, I did not do that. Then why are you talking about it? If it's even true.
Yeah. So Charles says, I'm losing all my political YouTubers to this shit. All I have left are you guys and Count Dankula. And oddly enough, Adam Carolla, who I've been listening to since I was 12.
Carolla's awesome, but he's done a good job of staying out of all this stuff.
Well, Carolla's pretty spot on the Israel stuff. And it's because his stance is like, I don't really fucking care. And that's become my stance a little bit more, is that I just don't care that much. Because for a while I was like, yeah, we're sending them way too much money. And then you look at the money, and you're like, yeah, I don't really want to send them that much money unless they can prove to me that they're like adding at least that much monetary benefit. But also, the amount of money we send to them in 10 years is the amount of money we spend feeding soda to poor fat people in 1 year. Like it's just insane. Oh, that's pretty much nothing. And I'd rather not do that thing, but
there's something about all of this that maybe one side of this never quite gets at. But the whole idea of soft money and U.S. aid and remittances and all these things we send around the world, one side absolutely treats that as being defrauded out of our money and whatever. But there is a truth to it that all of that money is part of the United States super dominance. That the fact that they take money from us, it's like taking money from the Godfather. You know what I mean? And so it comes out of our checks and our taxes and all that sorts of stuff. But the U.S. isn't just using it like, I mean, it seems like it's pissing off, and we'll talk about this with the Somalis. But the U.S. government, part of how they control everybody is through the gifts, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And that's something that's kind of overlooked. Not that I necessarily want us to be the super dominant power, but it's also part of what keeps our dollar being used throughout the whole world. And so there's always like a little bit more to it than just, we're just dumping off stuff from our piggy bank over to these guys. It's part of how we control everything.
Well, and one thing that Trump has actually done fairly well is, I don't like us being the dominant power. I don't like there being a dominant power, maybe like a loose cluster of kind of unions, you know. But once we become the dominant power for as long as we have been, and once we are the world police for as long as we have been, it's really difficult to just stop doing that and have the world not descend into complete chaos. So like with what is it? It's not the UN, it's the treaty. What is it? The Ukraine keeps wanting to join the
NATO.
NATO. Yeah. Okay, so like with NATO, like I don't know what percentage of NATO is just America, but it's pretty fucking massive. And if we just said, "Oh yeah, all right, we're done with that. You guys got to do your own shit," like Russia would see that as an opportunity to fuck up Europe, right? And so, in his defense, Trump did do that a little bit more smartly than like my knee jerk would be to do it, in telling them, "All right, we're gonna stop funding soon. You guys have to kick in your share. We're not the world police anymore." And
but this is it. I mean, Troy makes the comment, the Chinese are playing the just take this nice gift game now too, which they've been doing in Africa and other places for a long time.
oh yeah,
But that's part of the vacancy that we leave if we stop doing all the stuff. If that makes sense. There's 100% more to the whole chess game of all this than just we're just dumping our money into stuff, you know.
yeah.
And it's frustrating. It's still just frustrating as crap. And I want to talk more. I mean, I already talked to you earlier about maybe some of the things behind this Somali stuff going on, but talking about other soft money and Tucker, because we were just talking about that. And I want to talk about some other things coming out of TPUSA, because it actually ties back into Ward Radio, because over at the TPUSA, this Kai Schwimmer kid, who is a new TikToker, Mormon TikToker, who he popped up over on Ward Radio after he was in a debate with Steve Deace about Israel First stuff on Michael Knowles' show, and went over to Cardin's channel to talk about it with them. And I think that's all kind of interesting. But Tucker, I mean, I think his response to Shapiro is like, I could get behind his response to Shapiro, but then he's been playing this game on the other side of saying, well, Qatar should actually be our allies. And on top of that, he says this, he drops this whole thing from the American conservative right here.
How do you say something that's stupid when your whole shtick is that like, it's not that Israel shouldn't be our ally. It's that should we be sending this much aid to anyone at all? And then suddenly you switch to, oh, no, the aid is good. We should just send it to this Islamic nation instead of this Jewish nation.
That's what was interesting about that TPUSA conference, because almost every single person on both sides of that debate, Steve Deace and the Kai Schwimmer, and Doug Wilson got involved with this too. And Doug Wilson got in big trouble for questioning if the U.S. were the bad guys in the U.S. Liberty bombing, you know, and that set the whole internet afire. But what were you just talking about?
We were talking about Qatar, and you were about to show this Tucker clip.
Well, yeah, we don't got to listen to it. It's a little thing here. You'll find out on Harrison Berger's thing, but it's on the American Conservative. But he says he's trying to pass off the stuff of like, what's the problem with the Muslims? The Muslims are pretty good, and the same stuff he did with Venezuela, saying, well, you know, they're pretty conservative. They're conservative dudes, man. I mean, I know they got their socialism, but they're conservative. They're social conservatives, man. They wouldn't let Disney change their characters. They wouldn't let Stranger Things put the gay in there.
Yeah, they would just try to nationalize the means of production. That's all they'll do. And if you go to any normie conservative, like, I don't know, you go to my dad and you're like, okay, you can have the guy that's going to seize the means of production and cause socialism, but he is definitely going to crack down on gay marriage. Or you can have the guy cracking down on gay marriage and or not giving a shit about gay marriage and being like, you know what, the capitalists can have their means of production. My dad will definitely choose the second guy. Easy. Like, not even thinking about it twice. He'll be like, well, I'm not a fan of gay marriage, but I'd rather have that than socialism.
Yeah, for sure. Which is strange because one of the James Lindsay's great ideas to change from using the word woke right, which I can't stand because it kind of just causes division, but he suggested socially conservative socialists. And I'm like, that's a better term. That's a better term for it. And Tucker's been on that bandwagon. In fact, if you go back and listen to his debate with Shapiro that they had live like 4 years ago on Shapiro's like Sunday show, he was getting into the concept of a managed and controlled economy when it came to AI and truck driving. And he says, we absolutely should not let AI start doing that stuff because truck drivers are one of our biggest employer things. And so starting from that point, and once again, go listen to just like a month before this when Charlie Kirk was on with Tucker Carlson. He started talking about conservatives got to start looking at managed economies because the kids are screwed type stuff. And he says this is stuff that maybe Mom Donnie and all those guys get right. And you kind of go, But that all kicks back to Ward Radio because Kai Schwimmer and Cardin were talking about how they were hardcore Yankee gangers and are into universal basic income, and they think that should come around. And Cardin even suggested that the church should do universal basic income for its members type stuff. And
I mean, they could afford it, I guess, but like, and they would get a huge bump in membership.
Anyway, Tucker says here, I don't know anyone in the United States in the last 24 years who's been killed by radical Islam. I do know a lot of people who've been killed who have killed themselves, but he's been just on this push like, what's wrong with the Muslims? What's wrong with they're conservative dudes? And it's also one of the areas that you pointed out. I think you had a clip here of Fuentes, and Fuentes just always shrugs off the Muslims too because he's friends with Sneeko and all those types of guys.
It's so stupid because like, yeah, Muslims aren't down with the gays. Yeah, we know they throw them off buildings. We don't want that.
Yeah.
Like, Trump doesn't want that. You go to Trump, the bigoted, xenophobic, homophobe. He doesn't want gays thrown off roofs. Like, my dad doesn't want gays thrown. Your average Fox News listener does not want gays to be thrown off roofs or stoned to death, or girls who get raped to lose their virginity to be stoned to death unless they have several witnesses that were for some reason there at the time and they don't know she was totally raped. Like, they don't want that. Even the ones that don't want gay marriage to be legal are like, well, okay, we don't want to make their marriage legal, but we don't want to slaughter them. That's retarded, Tucker.
Yeah. And anyway,
this was fun because I was talking about playing the game of who said it, Hassan or Fuentes.
Yeah. That's
so then this was a Fuentes one that could have been said by Hassan. All of the complaining about Somalis will result in nothing. No mass arrests, no mass deportations, nothing transformative. We all know it. This is more slop designed to rally the GOP base back to this failing joke of a government and pivot from, I guess, hatred on Israel to Muslims.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And Hassan did say that stuff, and people came dunking on Hassan too for saying all those types of things. But I was telling you earlier, I was talking to you guys, and I was saying, like, anybody, all these different people who are kind of pushing the concept of the ethno-nationalism and supranationalism and all that sorts of stuff, in the next breath, they hand wave away the Muslims. It's not the Muslims, and even if there is a problem with the Muslims, it's the Jews that are causing it, or something like that. If you're hand waving away the Muslims, I just do not take you seriously, or I think that you are being. I think that is a clear sign that you're being paid about, to have your opinions on that side, to be so strong that direction, because it's just so stupid. There's no way you hold both those things in your head at the same time. And like anybody who is able to kind of both say, I don't know about all the spending in Israel, plus I don't dig all that Muslim stuff, I'll be like, okay, those two things make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Well, it's if you can only choose one of the two. If you can choose to keep giving money to Israel and cracking down on Islam shit versus the opposite.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, it's just, I would rather stop sending a shit ton of money to Israel and not deal with Muslim shit.
Yeah.
I know that doesn't really seem to be an option right now. So if I can only choose one, I'd be like, crack down on the Muslim shit and keep sending Israel whatever they want.
Yeah. Let me. Here's this. This is the Cardin and that Kai kid who was on Michael Knowles' debate show.
And he said, because amongst its membership.
so.
Like
I think so.
I literally think, and I love what Elon Musk said when they asked, why do you support UBI? And he said, because he said, I think it's not just a possibility, but it's an inevitability.
100%.
And it
100%.
will force everybody takes that part where Elon Musk said, I don't think it's just a possibility, but an inevitability. And they cut it off there. Do you remember what he said after that in the interview?
I don't even know if I've seen that clip. Like, but it's 100% true.
When
I'm not
asked
sure I've seen
about
that,
UBI and why he supported universal basic income, because Elon Musk was basically perceived as being Yang Gang. When asked why he supported UBI, he said specifically, I don't think it's just a possibility, but I think it's an inevitability. And this is so crazy. He said, once we do that, it will force us to answer life's deeper questions, like who we are, where we came from, and what is our purpose here.
No, you get back to Dostoevsky. You'll find out all sorts of reasons to beat each other up and eat yourselves from the inside type stuff.
Yeah.
That's absolutely the exact same concepts that Marx said. that's the utopia Marx thinks about.
Yeah, your outlook on human nature is far too positive.
It's so dumb.
It's dumb, and it's, I don't know. Like, I understand the UBI argument. Like, I like viscerally hate it from sort of a principled standpoint. In kind of the same way that I don't like stimulus checks, right? But during COVID, when they were sending out stimulus checks, I mean, they sent one out to me. They shouldn't have. They absolutely shouldn't have, because like I was a government contractor, and they basically gave me 3 months without work, but still with pay. And I'm like, well, you should probably be more careful who you're sending this to. I'm definitely going to cash the fucking check because it's nice to have, but like, there's no reason to send it to me. I'm not hurt by this at all. Send it to the people that are hurt. And also, I just don't like stimulus checks because you're purchasing votes and because you're fucking up the economy by you're printing more money is essentially all you're doing. And the only reason I was sort of turning my nose like okay with the stimulus checks during COVID is because, well, I guess if you force a bunch of people to not make money, you kind of owe them money. So like if you're going to do this evil, stupid thing that has no scientific backing, then yeah, I guess give them money, you pieces of shit.
Why was it that he was told?
It feels kind of similar to the whole idea of UBI, like as AI takes over more jobs and stuff. If AI could feasibly take over almost every job, I guess you'd have to pay everybody something, because there's otherwise they're just going to die and you're not going to have anybody to govern. And but then it's just that whole you will own nothing and be happy utopia.
I saw somebody who I think kind of framed the way you've got to take Elon Musk, because Elon Musk has done great things, but I think he's got some terrible ideas for the future, like any sort of technocrat. I mean, everybody in Silicon Valley has kind of a technocrat brain a little bit, right? We're going to fix it all and manage it all with this sorts of stuff. But somebody described that everything that Elon Musk says about that stuff, you should take it as somebody who is a promoter, and a promoter for his stock price. So what he's saying should be viewed as something that's going to make you go, well, I should buy on that stock because he says we're taking it all over and doing it all. And that doesn't mean that he's taking it all over and doing it all, or that every single job in the world is going to be done by AI or anything like that is for sure going to come. It's not his prediction. It's his, this is what will make you bullish on my stock, you know. And this is the bar fight episode with this kid, the up and coming Mormon TikToker who is basically a groiper. I wouldn't say like 100% groiper. I don't know if he's like into the Fuentes, but he 100% takes the Fuentes line on stuff. You know, he's anti-Israel and all that sort of stuff. I bet you he would downplay being homies with Nick Fuentes or any sort of thing like that, or saying any sort of super racist thing. But he's basically representing that line of thinking in this debate against Steve Deace, which I think is kind of interesting because if you listen to Steve Deace on this one, everybody at TPUSA, Doug Wilson and those guys who even support Israel, they also say that they don't want to send money, like they're done sending money anymore too. You know, basically like what your line might be. You know?
Yeah,
but go ahead.
It's the funny part about the sort of the groypers becoming more mainstream is it's gonna be hilarious, because that's all anything can ever be, is hilarious. It's not like anything good is gonna happen. Sorry to black pill, but it's gonna be very hilarious to watch as the lefties try to contend with a bunch of far right actual racists saying the exact same economic things as they are, and trying to pretend that they're not.
Well, strangely enough, if you look at like the Young Turks, Jank is saying that we should really, really, really actually fully team up with Tucker Carlson now, because you know Tucker's bullish on Islam and he's bullish on managed economies type stuff, and that's some of the ways that are shaken down. But you're absolutely right. Like they're horseshoe theorying it. They hate the concept of horseshoe theory, but they keep doing it. At least when it comes to the economics type stuff. And I totally get, because one of the problems with libertarianism is it's hard to be halfway libertarian, and so much of the economy is halfway libertarian. And so you say it's free markets, all the while people are using the government to make monopolies or to make corporatism, like real corporatism, where they're actually in bed with the government, but then also saying, but it's free market. So this is we're a business, so we should be able to go and use the government to get what we want around the world type stuff. And part of all that is like you get NAFTA and all those sorts of things. And it's part of the deal with all the problem with all the tariffs and all that sorts of stuff is they're making this point that it's not really free market if there's all this government in the way one direction and another. You know, like a free market's got to be a free market, and it really would work like a free market, but that's not happening anywhere. You got to be a realist about it, you know.
Yeah, Steve asked, if you don't work for a year, is it hard to start working again? I know he's being facetious there, but from experience, fucking yeah. Look, my job is easy as hell. I didn't stop working for a year, but I did stop working for 3 months during COVID when they were like this is gonna kill America, and so we stopped working. Still got paid for it. Oh my God, it was amazing. I can't tell you how wonderful it was. Like if I thought socialism could look like that all the time, I'd be a socialist. Thing is, socialism worked like that for 3 months, and it cost us the entire world economy. Yeah. So, like, I loved it. And then coming back to work, I was like, bleh.
Those utopias, I forget which book it's in because I haven't read it. I've only read the snippets of it, and you've read more Dostoevsky than I have. I've only read Brothers Karamazov and Crime and Punishment. But in one of his books, he talks about how if you were to ever to get to that utopian moment where all things are taken care of, we would find a reason to destroy ourselves because that's what we would do with idle hands. And
it's probably demons.
I think it is demons. I think you hit it right on the head.
Demons is like Well, it's exactly this argument. It's a bunch of young revolutionary socialists fighting back against
It's got to be that one then.
their boomer neocon parents. So
And I think he's absolutely right about like all the people daydreaming of that utopia that Marx says that we will spend the morning plumbing and the night painting type of stuff or even what Cardin was just imagining there, not knowing he's exactly imagining what Marx imagined. Now we've got time to be Mormon. It's a fantasy. It's not real. It's not going to happen.
Lefties do this thing, and I think I might have brought it up last week, but lefties do this thing where if they can convince themselves that something is a social construct, that automatically means that it isn't real. And they'll talk about debt and money, and they'll say it's just a social construct, therefore it's not real. No. You're right that money is a social construct. Like it's kind of a social contract. That like
money is just in our heads.
Yeah,
like Noah Harari's basically.
Yeah, no, it is in our heads.
Dr. Nick for us. I'm Dr. Nick. Money is just a thought in your head.
Hi, everybody. Money's not real.
Thanks, you freed me up, Noah Harari. Become my brand new prophet.
I try explaining this to this woman at work who's telling me that money and debt are just social constructs. I'm like, yeah, they're totally in our heads. They're an agreement that we come to. They are in our heads, and they're a real thing. It's not one or the other. Money is absolutely real. It's sort of cutting out the middleman, because before money you have bartering, which is also like a nice free market thing, but it's also I don't want to have to figure out how many eggs as a chicken farmer I have to give to you as a house builder to build me a house. It's easier if I can give this amount of eggs to this guy and he gives me papers saying that like this is representative of the work that you've given to me and it's worth more to me than the work that I've given to you. And then I can turn around and give it to this other guy. Like that's money's inevitable. It's going to happen. Like somebody's going to figure that nice little shortcut out. And so claiming that it's this social construct is like, yeah, it is. It's a social construct. We socially created it. It's also fucking real. It also means something.
The one thing I like is like in the comment section of that Ward Radio thing, because I mean he thinks. Here, let me show you what this kid says.
We are in agreement. I 100% that I loathe this boomer conservative talking point. It's like this the monster of socialism behind like whatever the government does. It's just not rigorous thinking about politics. And if you want to talk solutions, it's like, yeah, the universal basic income is even better than the Milton Friedman or the Ludwig von was it Mises or was it Friedman who talked about the negative income tax? I forget, but it's like this is even better. It's like you want to talk about using the market to really produce a lot of good for Americans. A stimulus is something like a universal one. There's, like you said, it's not means tested. This is one of the best things you can do. And you want to talk to these Republicans about it. Look, Trump's trying to do that with the military. What do you think these tariff dividends are? It's like he's already doing this. Like
Trump should, if he's getting any sort of tariff dividends, number one, it should be used as a tool to get other countries to stop doing tariffs. And number two, if he does get money from it, it should just go straight to our debt.
Oh my God. I can't tell you how many times I've had that thought. Like, I don't know. The second he was talking about that, well, it was the tariffs actually. And he's like, yeah, we're going to give you guys we save some money with the tariffs. And because of that, we're going to give you money. And I understand why he's doing that, but I hate it. And it's sleazy and it's stupid. It's to be like, oh, look at how great my idea was. I'm like, no, we don't have money as a nation. We are more in debt than any other institution that's ever existed. So just put it at that. Throw it all at that. And you could tell me that that's just a drop in the bucket. And I was like, but it's still a drop. Okay? Like it's just like all the guys that go on Caleb Hammer's financial audit. And he's like, stop buying Starbucks. And they're like, well, that wouldn't do anything to my debt. No, it would. It would do a tiny bit to your debt. And a tiny bit is better than nothing. So fucking do it.
Yeah. Sinatra says, just stick to academic agent Uh, he's a true messenger. We live in a managed government. Our government answers only to its handlers. I listened to Academic Agent's year of review of the United States and of Europe this week, and I have his book over there, Prophet of Doom, and some other stuff. Academic Agent has some good thoughts, and he's a big pusher of like the Italian elite theory stuff. Then helped me understand a lot of different stuff, and I actually got into Arnold Toynbee through him. But I think there's some weird stuff about academic. I think there's weird stuff about everybody. There's not one person out there who doesn't have something a little weird about them, except like Charles said, Corolla, because he's just kind of on the comedy. He's just conservative blue collar comedy. He's not that ideological. On
what's the weird stuff about Razor Fist? That's what I want to hear.
Razor Fist.
I would say the one weird thing I would say about him is that he does always seem to defend Trump no matter what.
Yeah, Razor Fist is pretty for as deep cut type of guy as he gets. You know, he can get deep cut on all sorts of issues, but he toes the pretty straight party line of republicanism across the board, everywhere, even locally and everywhere, and that's strange in itself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know in the past he hasn't. He really, but now he is a lot. Like he really shat on Trump bombing Syria in his first term, and now he's talking about how stupid he was to shit on Trump bombing Syria. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, the only reason I say that is because Academic Agent and Razor Fist had a recent tiff, and
they did
a little bit.
That one.
I'll have to send it to you. I don't remember exactly what it was about.
Yeah. So one of the things I think about Academic Agent, I'm going to say a little weird stuff about him. You say he's as English as scones. His dad's actually Iranian, and his dad was a.
So he's even Englisher than scones.
Yeah, but his dad's Iranian. He's talked about that a whole lot, and I actually think when it comes to anything that calls into question anything about Iran, I think he's got Iranian loyalties. So if anything seems to be coming down or pushing towards Iran being the bad guy, almost in the same way that Tucker kind of goes, "Hey, these Islamists, they ain't no problem." I see Academic Agent kind of go that direction. But I mean, a lot of that elite theory and getting into like if you get into John Mearsheimer type political realism, there's absolutely the truth that like, and we know this, like full libertarianism's never been tried. You know, I mean, that's the exact same thing as any of these utopian things. Like we're not going to get to full libertarianism. And so one of the reasons I pulled that clip from that Kai Schwimmer guy is just the thing he said beyond the UBI stuff is the thing that he pushes now that is maybe different for a Latter-day Saint who's getting national recognition because he has a big TikTok. It's kind of funny how these guys like Lap, Ward Radio, or Jacob or whatever, just from like TikTok follows, you know?
Well, and I also don't want full libertarianism.
But one of the things they push is kind of maybe like the Aaron McIntyre or the other dissident right people of full, hey, government is power. That's what government is for. Grab the power, grab the ring, grab it all. And anybody who's not doing that or talking against it, sneer at them, or they're in their own way kind of vying for power, just lying to you about it.
Well, it's I don't know. Going full, I would love to go full libertarian. I really would, like in my heart of hearts, that I would love that. But full libertarianism is basically anarcho-capitalism, which runs into the exact same problem as communism, one of the exact same problems as communism does, which is just a full-throated gargling on the ball bag of human nature, as if like humans would do the right thing if held to their own account, and they just wouldn't. Like if you went full ANCAP and there was no state, then what would happen is there would be a state. It would happen either way.
Yeah. And so there is some truth that like just like if Trump was a more perfect whatever type person, like the initial concept he was talking about with tariffs, I actually kind of understood that and followed. I even remember we even pulled up Bill Real, gave some credence to that, just in the sense of if this is going to be a mutual tariff to places to try to tell them to knock their tariffs off, And strangely enough, with the way stuff's done in the Supreme Courts and all that sort of stuff, is you can't even frame it like that. You have to frame it as like some sort of national emergency, or you could like lose your ability to do it from the Supreme Court, which is kind of ridiculous. Well, lose the ability for the president to do it. It'd have to come from Congress. The president could only do it in emergency power situations, and that's why he might lose it all. Flip says people are good at systems that are bad. Where you at, Flip? You popping in? Flip's didn't at work. He said he might be able to pop in at the. Yeah.
Maybe that's just a hallmark of an ideology you can dismiss offhand, is that an ideology says people are good at systems that are bad. Like, and that's sort of what we harped on John DeLynn for the longest time, is he spent a good 10 years saying it's systems, not people. It's systems, not people. I'm like, no, there's some issues I have with the system of the Mormon Church. But it's not the entire system I have an issue with.
Yeah. One of the things. Okay, so Sinatra asked, "Have you read his book yet?" I've read Prophets of Doom, but his more famous book is The Populist Delusion, which is basically coming down on any populist from the Bernie Sanders side or even from like a libertarian side. And a lot of those dissident right were he was a former libertarian, and Yarvin's a former libertarian, and they're all people who said, I graduated from the libertarianism to say that's not how anything works. And you could maybe like point to something like the only way we changed speech in social media wasn't from a ground up swelling. It was because Elon bought Twitter, is type of a thing of saying like the only way you can fight the elites is to create a counter elite. And I think there's some I think there's some truth to that in a lot of different ways. But he's got a new book too, which Applied Elite Theory. But he's got a new book that just like released, like, oh no, it's a Shakespeare book. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff from Academic Agent that I think is interesting and good and worth hearing and all that stuff. But I look askant to any. He's like a little bit too black pilled to me. And what you said right there, and I feel black pilled all the time too, for sure. But you know, he was kind of criticizing like the uprisings in England, saying this isn't going to change anything. The way he would address this whole Somali thing, which we're still just getting to, is he said this isn't going to change anything. Nothing's going to change anything unless an elite person's actually wanting to change something. But I can't think of very many people out there that there's not something about them that I kind of go, I don't know about this sort of stuff with how they are or how they talk about. I love how Academic Agent knows a ton about WWE wrestling though, and gets into the lore and history of all that. I listen to that. He goes crazy about that stuff. But yeah, being Iranian, I actually owner of my company's Iranian, and PBD's Iranian. I think PBD seems like a pretty solid dude and all that stuff. In fact, he interviewed Nick Shirley about the whole stuff and had a pretty good episode on Nick Shirley's Somalian expose. But anyway,
he had one of the better Nick Fuentes interviews too. Like it wasn't great, but it was, I don't know, it might have been the best interview I've seen with Fuentes, sort of straddling that line of being like, hey, you said some fucked up shit, but also, you know, I don't know, not just finger wagging at him the whole time. Like, Piers Morgan had the worst. Easily the worst was Piers Morgan. That was embarrassing.
Starbase Colo says PBD is an MLM scam artist. That I actually forgot about that. I think as a podcaster he's fine, but I've heard that his company stuff and some of the other ways he makes money is some shitbaggy stuff.
Oh, really?
I actually heard about Vivek Ramaswamy too. Like he did rug pulls where he made all his money off of like some busted drugs. And you know, and I actually,
but like
he really liked Vivek Ramaswamy, but
but Vivek is
his mouth pretty hard.
Vivek is Indian. That's it's shocking when an Iranian guy does that. When an Indian guy does it, you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I've heard some of that stuff about PBD, and he also kind of has a little bit of one of those like, join our man, how to make you a man thing, and if you join our how to make you a man I don't know, how do you call it? Almost like those types of things that Andrew Tate does, and people like took the course and said this is some horseshit. Type
I don't
stuff.
know. Like I feel like
Mentoring, pay for mentoring type stuff.
I feel like I'm a douche. It's just like anytime I'm watching somebody and it's more than like 2 ads per every 20 minutes, I'm like, dude, fuck you. Like, look, Tim Pool, I don't know, you might be an honest actor, but I know you're not this hard for Beam Dream as you say that you are. Like, even Dave Smith does too many of them, and that's easy for me to say as somebody who gets exactly 0 opportunities.
It'd be tough when somebody was offering you money for anything, you know.
It would. I don't know. I like to think, I really hope that like I'd be that type of guy to be like, I make enough money at my job. So if like people started offering us sponsorships to obvious bullshit, I'd be like, no. It would be difficult for me to read a sponsored ad, even if it was something I believed in.
I could do those underwear ones if they actually feel good or something like that. But
yeah, like hey, it actually makes my dick and balls feel really nice. It really does kind of hammock them. I know I sound like a shill fag right now, but like it holds up your nads, and that's nice. But
everything, I don't know. Maybe if you make any level of success in this world, there's some sort of MLM thing behind you a little bit. But maybe it's all just a big bunch of fake stuff anyway. But I saw somebody talk about their experience with Indians in Silicon Valley, and they said Indians were very, very good at practicing saying all the exact right things to get a job. And everybody has the experience with some Indian who came in and said and claimed all the different things. And then when they hired them, they didn't have any of those things. And like, wait a minute, you said all the things. And I read a whole long post on that once. And whenever people talk about Kash Patel, that's kind of like about, oh, that guy, he 100% doesn't care about any of the stuff he was saying. He's like, this is how you get the job. And I somewhat worry that that's what Vivek Ramaswamy was too. The way he
it's like there's that whole Brett Weinstein thing where he talks about the most successful people. There's 2 types of people in this realm, and it's people who underpromise with the hope of over delivering, which totally me. Like, I get that, but the other type is people who overpromise at the risk of almost certainly under delivering. And that second group of people, they get the job more often. And maybe like the Indians just take that to the extreme. It's not like they overpromise by like 15-20%. It's like they overpromise by 300%.
It's like Kash Patel did that, and he's like, I got it. Now let's just go take my airplane and he doesn't even care that anything's hypocritical about it. Let's take my airplane to go visit my girlfriend. Type stuff. And
that lawsuit, that's so stupid. How does he not know how stupid that looks?
The lawsuit against Eliza Schaefer, that they said something bad about his girlfriend, so they're suing her. It's so ridiculous. But and then Vivek at the TPUSA had a whole speech about heritage American is bullshit. The only thing that should be American is who works hardest, type stuff, which in one sense you can get behind that sense, but there's also got to be like, no, there's heritage too here, fella. You know what I mean?
Well, it's that I don't know what to tell you, Vivek. Identity politics has been normalized, and those who have normalized it have quadrupled down into it. So I don't know how you can look at the disaffected white people who are embracing it full-throatedly and just being like, yeah, you're right about this identity politics thing, and white people need to look out for white people. I don't know how you can look at them and be like, actually, you shouldn't, even though everyone else is doing it. You shouldn't.
Yeah,
you might be right. I think you're right. Like, I think nobody should, but we've let everybody else do it.
That's almost like a jumping off point to finally get into the Somali stuff, because, I mean, one of the things that's come up multiple times, and you can look into it, that there's all these different companies that start hiring Indians, and the Indians very quickly do everything they can to get other Indians hired and then push out other people. And there's a lot of different people experiences like that. And you can see like all these banks where the entire banks are run by just the same family of Indians and stuff like that. And you go, wait a minute, the EEOC itself specifically is supposed to guard against that. Not just against whites not doing it. And every single people who go and like push around the stuff of like some ethnic group only looking out for themselves. I mean, I guess that's one of the things that people have to argue with this Kai guy and with Nick is that, but every other group is doing it and becoming successful doing it. And obviously we've seen some of that going on with the old Somalis over there in Minnesota. I'll get off this kid here, but yeah, he argues, I was going to show some of it, but we won't. This Kai Schwimmer, keep an eye on him because you might be starting to see more of him than. But and I don't know if he's going to. I mean, if you saw in the comment section of the Ward Radio one, there's a bunch of people saying your guys' UBI ideas are stupid. I think the young Mormon kids, even the older Mormon kids, are kind of still skeptical about that stuff. But I don't know. Maybe they'll all start going the way of the Kai Schwimmer type dude. And Cardin seems to be open to it for sure. The Somalis, I have to apologize because I made a PowerPoint for tonight, and in the middle of the night, somebody broke into my house, and they deleted that PowerPoint.
That sucks.
I don't know how. I don't know why they would do this. And then I got a bunch of calls from people, racist phone calls all day from people about my PowerPoint.
Did you hide it behind the drywall?
I hid it behind. Well, I think they came in through the drywall where I hid it.
No, that's the thing. I don't know why you didn't think of that because I've been wondering if there's this building I really want to break into and steal some shit from, right? And I'm trying to think of the best way to break into it. And I got my top 2 ways, and I'm kind of iffy on which one I should do. The first way that I want to do it is I sit there with a massive drill bit and a Sawzall sawing through like about 12 square feet of solid brick before kicking out the drywall all night. And then the second, the runner-up is that I'll break a window and I'll go inside. I'm not sure which one of those I'd go with.
I decided I want somebody to make an AI Ocean's 11 movie. And the Ocean's 11 movie is of all those guys breaking into a Somali daycare to take the papers out. Like 11 different top quality, high level guys all needed to get the Somali books, the Somali QuickBooks out of a daycare.
I don't know. Maybe they're being truthful because it seems so stupid. That seems like the dumbest method to break into a building possible. That I'm like,
it is the most dog ate my homework thing I've ever seen.
I know. They sat out there for like an hour with loud power tools capable of sawing through 12 square feet of brick before kicking in the drywall so they could actually walk into the building. That's what they did. They didn't. I've seen your door. Your front door is made of glass. They could kick the window in and unlock it. What are you talking about?
This is side scrollers, but I only chose this because of all the different videos I saw it on. They kind of get to the point of all the different things pretty quick in just 4 minutes. So I thought I'd use them to
look. Whether he was the first or not, it doesn't matter. He's put the magnifying glass on everything that's going on, and he's really busted the whole gate down, I would say, when it comes to this. And finally, things are happening, and I think that we can all agree is a good thing, right?
He's talking about Nick Shirley there.
So we briefly touched on this yesterday, but at the very tail end of the show, we saw this video pop out where the Somali daycare, who falsely claimed, they said somebody broke in and stole their student enrollment documents. They're now showing off where the burglar entered. It says, unfortunate for them, the cuts in the sheetrock seem to have been made on the inside of the actual building.
No.
So let's go and take a look at this right here. So once again, it's impossible to break into things when you're cutting out of things.
Of what they say vandals did. Now, this is where they say the vandals got into the daycare through cinder block and appeared to be unsuccessful when trying many other ways. The daycare says it appears the vandals first tried to saw into the door of the Family Dollar next door in the shopping center, but that didn't work. The manager claims those who broke in went straight to the office, stealing information of the many children.
Have you ever taken a saw to anything? At all?
Yeah, it doesn't work.
I watch people take sawzalls to shit all day, and we have different rated blades to saw through different shit, and the wood blades are like the lowest grade. If you could saw through cinder block, you could easily saw through 4 times as much wood. Like, what the fuck is this? This is retarded. Maybe, I don't know. This is some 12D chess going on here, and maybe some groypers really did bust in, and they're like, we're gonna bust in the stupidest way possible to make these people seem like abject retards. It's almost like if Nick Fuentes paid those 2 Ethiopian immigrants to assault Jesse Smollett and be like, this is MAGA country. Like we want it to look as dumb as possible. And poor Jesse Smollett is like, no, I swear to God, this is what actually happened. Like yes, they were Nigerians or Ethiopians or whatever, but they did it, and then we haven't believed him for years because some 12G chess playing groyper funded it all.
That would be funny.
Who were taken care of here.
What are the odds, huh?
Very specific that they broke in, managed to go all the way to that specific filing cabinet, open it up, and take out the exact documents needed.
Yes, they just knew exactly where to go.
I'll say also more interesting for me is that that's the story that the news chose to follow.
Yes.
That of all of this, it's that someone broke into their place. That to me tells me everything.
Oh, security windows. You think they'd have cameras?
Well, at a daycare center, you're supposed to have cameras.
Yeah.
Your job is to keep track of all these things. Why didn't they ask that? Why did CBS News Minnesota not ask this? Well, do you have cameras of this exactly happening? Because, it seems pretty crazy. If you have a daycare center, you got to be able to track where the children are at all times, right? Right. Let's see what this guy had to say about this obvious theft here.
We are not a part of any harmful things that are.
Some people pulled up, those are $2,500 glasses.
Are they really? Well, this dude, I'm like looking at this. This is your spokesman.
Yeah.
Man, this looks like an already autistic 12-year-old's first go at speech club or whatever.
Yeah.
Being said, we have no problem with CCAP, and our licensing has been good, even the inspections.
He needs to go to the Learning Center to learn how to speak.
This does not put a whole lot of trust. And by the way, look at the white liberal women in the background here. Just, oh my God, it's always the white liberal women. Always.
Oh, intimidation is going to stop us.
What's that, Bud?
She looks like she hasn't slept in 10 years.
Well, I mean, that's what happens when you're constantly trying to solve the world's problems when there's no problems, right? I mean, just saying, she does have those bags under her eyes and looking for her moment to shine in the background right here. They will not be intimidated, guys. They will not be intimidated by the propaganda that's being thrown out there about them right here. The blatant propaganda. Did you see the video of this got pretty viral last night as well?
This one was weird.
It says, on my word, this might be the most damning video for the Somali community. A Somali just covered her mouth in shock when she accidentally read "fraud is bad" on the script. She wasn't supposed to say that out loud. Did you see this?
I did.
No.
This was
okay. Well, we're gonna watch this
wild to watch.
Yeah.
If childcare is cut, I'm unable to work or go to school. I understand fraud is bad.
And then people pointed out she has like a big diamond ring on too.
What the fuck retarded shit just happened?
I'm with you. I don't understand. Like,
it's like you're trying to say, I understand fraud is bad, but I need to do it so I can go into school.
So here's another
is the other lady that you're speaking about, Wrangler, here, as we look. It says a daycare activist covers her mouth after she slips and says there is fraud.
And I do see some signs over here that say stop fraud, and I agree, stop it. There are wait lists for these programs that are years long. There is fraud.
That was like a joke. That was like a Whose Line Is It Anyway skit where she accidentally slipped up. Oh, silly me.
Yeah. Starbase says missing 116 daycare records.
Yeah.
So anyway, one of the news stations there in Minnesota put out this, which was kind of funny.
Since the first person sat in this chair, but for me, the biggest difference is people do not trust us like they used to. And
not wrong. Not wrong.
It's not just us. It's all of legacy media. And I get it. I get it because I've been hearing about it from just about everybody for more than 20 years as I've traveled America on this assignment or that. My mom's neighbors in West Virginia, my own neighbors in New York City. Thousands and thousands of conversations.
Mitch has no neighbors. He's probably got his own building.
His own building? God, I don't think he's like, you don't think he's a Rockefeller or anything.
What do you know?
That's true. Yeah, maybe. Here we go. Let's continue.
And thousands of conversations in between. Sometimes people want to talk to me about our coverage of NAFTA or the Iraq War. Other times it's all about Hillary Clinton's emails or Russiagate. Or more recently, COVID lockdowns, Hunter Biden's laptop, or the president's fitness for office.
Curious which Russiagate he's talking about, the one that didn't actually happen, or the press on our current administration for that, or and which president it was fit or not fit for office, the previous one or the narrative that our current one isn't. It's amazing how that. I'm just interested to hear that.
The point is, on too many stories, the press has missed the story because we've taken into account the perspective of advocates and not the average American. Or we put too much weight in the analysis of academics or elites and not enough on you. And I know this because at certain points, I have been you. I have felt this way too. I felt like what I was seeing and hearing on the news didn't reflect what I was seeing and hearing in my...
Is that Jacob?
That's Jacob. We're actually just about to talk shit on you, so you should probably go away.
No, actually I did. I followed the whole debate stuff this week. I was listening to that earlier today, and the follow-up videos by those Catholics. I don't follow that channel very much. Capturing Christianity or something like that. Jacob says, "I hope we are all learning great things." Yeah, we're learning about it. We talked earlier about Kai Schwimmer, though, and he said somewhere that you had butted heads with him about his politics on UBI and all that sorts of stuff before at some point in the past, which we
good on ya.
Yeah, we don't.
The Jacob.
Yeah, to Jacob. Yeah.
In my own life, and that the most urgent questions simply weren't being asked. So here's my promise to you today and every time you see me in this chair. You come first.
Jacob says you guys had a debate on Twitter. Oh, that's good. We were kind of, well, I mean, I knew Cardin was into Yang Gang and all that stuff. I didn't know that he ran like the biggest Yang Gang channel or something like that.
I feel like Cardin's, I don't know. I feel like Cardin's endorsement of Yang is about as authentic as his endorsement of reparations.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just kind of a plausible deniability thing. To be honest, you know what I'm saying? I support Dems when I can.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know about that stuff. I don't know how big Kai Schwimmer is getting. He seemed to take the line of. I mean, we said I know he probably wouldn't be like a full groiper, but I mean, he was definitely like arguing on the lines of those types of. Not to use the groiper as the derogative or something like that, but he's definitely like one of those America First type stuff. But
not advertisers, not politicians, not corporate interests. And yes, that does include the corporate owners of CBS. I report for you, which means I tell you what I know, when I know it, and how I know it. And when I get it wrong, I'll tell you that too. It also means I'm going to talk to everybody and hold everyone in public life to the very same standard. After all, I became a journalist to talk to people. I love talking to people about what works in this country, what doesn't, and not only what should change, but the good ideas that should never change. I think telling the truth is one of them. I'm Tony DeCopel, the anchor of the CBS Evening News. Hold me to it.
Holy shit. Did you hear that? Okay, hang on. I'm going to listen to this guy now. Do you hear what he said? He said his thing is the truth.
Yeah.
Like, who says that? Like, who has actually ever told you that, like, my only loyalty is to the truth?
Jacob says, yeah, he pushed back on the Groiperism with good old classical liberalism. I think what all that whole thing that guy was kind of pushing at was he was one of the only persons to kind of admit that Nick Shirley, who I had no idea when all this stuff came out initially, that Nick Shirley was a Latter-day Saint, a returned missionary himself. And
Chile, yeah.
He went to Chile?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew it was Latin American. I didn't know it was down there. But I mean that was kind of wild. Obviously, it's played into how he was able to have the balls to go around and knock down doors on different places and all that sorts of stuff. But obviously, there was huge, major pushback from all these different places on how bad his journalism was and how it was terrible. And Flip was mentioning earlier and noticed that most of the responses to what they said that he wasn't able to do was a form of kettle logic. And it would be a good time to review what kettle logic is. And kettle logic, we brought up the kettle logic before. Actually, I brought up kettle logic before when who was it? John Bennett and Kobe and RFM and all those guys were talking about Jacob's stance on if the church could change or not. And I said they were using kettle logic on that. But in the comment section of that one. But kettle logic is, let me pull this up.
Charles says he definitely has a missionary accent.
The kettle logic. This is kettle logic. Kettle logic. Oh, it's got like a whole. Oh, it's a French word for it. Oh, that was probably when Derrida. It comes from Derrida. But the name of yeah, say that again. Logique. Comes from Derrida, from an example used by Sigmund Freud for the analysis of Irma's dream. And it says Freud relates the story of a man who was accused by his neighbor of having returned a kettle in a damaged condition. And the three arguments he offers are that he returned the kettle undamaged, that it was already damaged when he borrowed it, that he had never borrowed it in the first place. Through the three arguments, though the three arguments are inconsistent, Freud notes that it is so much the better, as if one is found to be true, then the man must be acquitted. But the kettle logic of the dream work is related to what Freud calls embarrassment dream of being okay, Freud. But
okay, Freud. I think Flip's trying to jump in.
Yeah, well, it's a good point for him to jump in because Flip was talking about the kettle logic used to try to argue against Nick Shirley's reporting.
There's no Somali fraud. Investigating Somali fraud is racist. Joe Biden already investigated Somali fraud.
Somali fraud is good.
Yeah, and like the Quality Learning Center, they said it was closed long before. No, it wasn't open until 10 a.m. No, it's in business because some kids came earlier that day, and all kettle logic, just straight kettle logic stuff. And you can see it over and over and over again in the stuff that they're
like it's all a deflection because everybody knows that they got different treatment at every level because of critical race theory.
Yeah,
like. Of course, like they were let in based on critical race theory. They weren't vetted in their programs for critical race theory.
Well, we talked about this with Todd. The Todd Grande thing was actually pretty good because he has a whole video on this, and he does a good job. He always does. But the first thing he talks about is the Feeding Our Future Foundation, which in 2015 they applied for grants in Minnesota. They were denied due to mismanagement of funds, and then in 2020 they applied again. They were denied again, except then they accused the Minnesota government of racism for denying them, and the Minnesota government just immediately folded. They're like, oh,
that's right. Whoops, sorry,
no,
forgot.
And then they gave them the grant, but then told the FBI, we still think these guys are doing fraud. Yeah. You're like, well, then why are you
FBI? Can you be racist for me? It's like the critical race theory version of the Sabbath Goy. Like,
that was my grandfather, my granddaddy. Growing up, he lived in our house for a little while. He was excommunicated years ago for some debaucherous shit that he did. Smoked cigarettes, drank coffee, never went to church. And when he was at our house, if we needed something on Sunday, my parents would be like, well, Granddaddy can go pick it up. And I'd be like, isn't that pretty much you picking it up? Yeah, I'd never heard the Sabbath Goy, but as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, Granddaddy.
Yeah, that's what that is.
I used this kettle logic thing when I was talking about when who was it, John Bennett and those guys were calling Jacob an idiot because he thought the church was not going to change. and that he was an idiot because he can't see that the church is absolutely going to change.
Yeah,
you know,
that was a good bit of logic.
And it was there like all the way through on the stuff. But yeah, this stuff. I mean, the arguments against it are just down the board the same. But Actual Justice Warrior, I'm not going to pull it up, but he did like a whole video on, to the credit of the local news, that they have been doing stories on this stuff, and they've been doing them for years. He pulled up the entire stories, and since like 13, 14 years ago, they were talking about this stuff. And I guess it just didn't. I mean, maybe the whole nothing ever happens things, but because who knows if something's going to happen now. But I saw some people talking about is actually the rhetorically defective guy and those fellas. They brought up that what might be making this crack through right now is there's a whole push to kind of divide Somalia up into Somaliland and Somalia, and
Puntland.
Yeah, and all of these types of this money, some of the reporting that's come out is that airports have caught Somalians running away with entire bags of cash multiple times over the year. That a ton of this money just goes back as remittances. They think, I mean, they think there's been as much fraud as the entire GDP of Somalia at this point. But if it's just even like 40% of what they're sending back, it would be like 20% of Somalia's GDP. And part of why something's happening now when nothing ever happens is because the U.S. is actually interested in making that divide happen between Somaliland and Somalia.
Well,
and they're done letting those remittances go over there.
Yeah,
and
but
so they're letting this come through now.
They're trying to distract us from Israel.
Yeah, well, they said Israel. You saw in the UN that Israel recognized Somaliland.
Yeah,
and they said, "Well, it's Israel who's pushing this to happen because they want to send the Gazans over there." And part of me kind of goes, "Well, if it's there instead of Tooele, I'll take it."
Oh fuck yeah! Please don't send them here.
Jacob says entire GDP is Somalia. That's not saying that much. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so it maybe like a lot of this was being allowed through because part of what makes you stop and look at this is you go, there's no way they didn't know. Like people knew at all levels like this was going on and happening, maybe especially from Tim Walz. You see the stuff that they tried to call some of these places, and when they call them, it would get redirected to Tim Walz's office.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
That makes total sense.
hang on a sec.
Yeah. And I had another clip here or something, but like people were saying, like, who's to say what these things are? 40 of these places in the same building. I have this clip, I pull it up, but just believe me, 40 of these places were opened on the same exact day inside of one single building and stuff like that. And the Minnesota government's just, nothing to see here. But they obviously had to know that a ton of this money. Well, and then on top of that, there's some reporting that they all donated to different Democratic super PACs across the board. Strangely enough, surprisingly enough, yeah. I wanted to pull up something that was said by a Brazilian girl. Who you guys are simpatico with the Brazilian girls, but
I don't know. They tend to be kind of nuts.
And Elon
And
boosted
hot.
back up. She says something kind of true, but I don't know if it's probably true of the Brazilian economy or the Brazilian way of thinking. You guys can tell me.
What's the ratio of nuts to like normal nuts? No, what I'm saying is like for any other nation is the nutty women to not nutty women the same ratio as countries with nuttier people? Like,
No, I mean, I think it's the same thing that, like Chief Wickham said, why are the pretty ones always insane? I think the same thing goes for countries.
Jacob's taking off. See you, Jacob. Thanks for popping in. Well, way to go on all this getting boosted in the whole entire world out there. You're way beyond us, but you still have time for some randos out there.
well,
You totally shifted the burden of proof on that guy, but
and thanks for getting Hayden boosted too. What the fuck, man? He's just kind of a wiener, that's all.
He's pedantic.
Anyway, we'll talk about the debate because I finally listened to that whole debate and all that sorts of stuff. He did shift the burden of proof, but when it comes to those debates too, I also kind of go, when you're debating who's right in that world of stuff, I don't know that any of it should be off the table. Really.
Well, no, I actually totally agree with. I think it was Risto asking for Forrest's opinion on it, or maybe in Thoughtful Saint, someone was asking.
No, it was
about
Risto. It was Risto,
and I've always agreed with the thing that Forrest said, is that the burden of proof argument is always annoying to me. Like, I didn't watch any of the debates, so I don't know. I cannot bring myself.
It kind of gets into technical debate stuff if you're becoming like a technical debater. Like, are we debating the antecedent? Are we debating the premise, or all that sorts of stuff?
It's like, you have a stance, prove it.
But it's absolutely always tougher
for the most part, you know. Like, I mean, if I'm saying that there is this thing I used with Seth when I was talking to him, saying, if I'm trying to tell you that I have wings, but that they're invisible, they're immaterial, they're undetectable by anything, and they're in another realm, at that point, yeah, the burden of proof is on me, and you can say that, be like, if the burden of proof is entirely on somebody else, it feels like there's no point in debating at all.
Yeah. That whole entire debate, obviously, I don't know. What would you guys argue all these years out of Mormonism? Do you think that there is feasibly, just looking at the plain politics of it, the plain worldview of it, not what's written in Scripture, that there was something like a great apostasy?
No.
You don't think there was any great?
Well, no. Here's the thing. Like, there's my issue with that whole debate. Like, you know, I made the comment. It's like arguing about what happened before the first episode of Star Trek. Nobody knows. Like, there's so many. Like, that's the thing about that debate that drove me nuts. But of course, like, what else could it be? But both Jacob and Catholic Guy are operating from all kinds of presuppositions about the early church, and like, it's like dividing by zero. We don't know. Like, there's no historical first century church. You know, like, I know that the Christians all claim there is, but there ain't. We have the Gospels that are late, and they don't help at all of establishing an early church. And then outside of that, we got nothing.
But do you think that it is logically like Joseph Smith's framing of a falling away, that's logically feasible?
Like, I mean, again, like, if you accept the presuppositions that there was a church established by Jesus and it was one thing, like, yeah, okay, then sure, it could. But the thing is, like, what that church was, we don't know. And so we have no way of knowing if what we've got now, or if what the Catholics did, was right or wrong, because we're basing it on nothing except for faith.
How much do you guys know about Catholicism? Like, how does the papacy even come about? Like, all those hundreds of years later, like, and the Pope doesn't take new revelation. He's not like a Mormon prophet or anything like that. He's just supposed to pass it on. So what is a Pope?
I researched it before, but it was long enough ago that I forgot. And also, you know, people go to literally get doctorates in this stuff, and, you know, still don't know everything. But that's the thing, is, like, I think that with the Catholics, it's just like the Mormons. It's double talk, where it's like, you know, no, the Pope doesn't receive revelation. Like, God revealed everything, and the Pope is the father of the church. Except that, like, when the Pope reveals things, like, they introduce new doctrines or change doctrines, you know. And it's just like the Mormons with the, you know, oh, well, he was speaking as a man then. Or like Jacob was like, well, no, collective witness model. We can ignore certain things arbitrarily if they don't go with my.
So do you know what the Catholic Church was before popes came back around?
You know what? I need to read the book. Bart Ehrman wrote a book. Apparently, it's one of his books that's written on a scholarly level and not on a popular level. But it's one that Bob Price always brings up as one of his favorites. And it's called The Orthodox Corruption of Scripture. And I really ought to read that. But apparently that's where he goes in and does the textual analysis, where he shows, you know, what became orthodoxy, exactly what they did, you know, in the history, in the Gospels. Because, you know, see, this is part of the problem. It's like, if you're a Christian, then the Gospels are reliable. But if you're a textual critic, then you damn well know better. They're not reliable. They've been fucked with over centuries. But yeah, I ought to read that book because apparently that goes into quite a lot of that, of like how that actually came about. But that's things like, I think, there's theological parts of it. There were political parts of it, like the whole thing with Constantine, like in the Christian story, it's like he was converted and became a Christian because God touched his heart and he saw the thing in the sky. It's like, well, no, historically it was just a political move, and there's no evidence at all that he was any kind of zealous convert. And then like the Council of Nicaea, like he was literally just like, okay, you guys need to stop fighting, come up with something, agree on something, and then I'll stamp it. And that's where we're going, So like this idea that like, oh, it was this, big spiritual thing. Like, no, it was literally like, there's like, we need to pick one thing and run with it. And, again, there's no evidence that he cared. He didn't care which way they went with any of that stuff. He just wanted them to pick something so we could move on.
Well, so I don't know. I understand that it's a precept argument, but it's also if you're a sect of Christianity arguing against another sect of Christianity, wouldn't that presupposition just be assumed?
Well, no, exactly. But
so like I didn't watch any of the debate. I can't bring myself to care about this stuff. So if Jacob is arguing against a Catholic over whether or not a great apostasy could happen or did happen,
it's kind of like,
wouldn't it be assumed? Like, wouldn't it already be assumed that there is a true church?
I mean, I guess, but again, like with my analogy, it's like
that's what Mormons assumed, right?
We can assume that James T. Kirk was born because we saw the first episode of Star Trek and there he was, like
I know. But
don't you remember season 5, episode 7 that he was translated into being from the
like if there was a later episode where we see the birth narrative of Kirk,
sure, but this is people that believe in Kirk, like.
But again, but the thing is like, so like, yeah, we can presume it, but then like, it's like the infancy gospel of Kirk, like people have done that. And just like people have made like the infancy gospels of Jesus, but
Mormons do believe that whatever was passed on to Peter were keys, right? And that's supposedly the initiation of the Catholic Church. And so the Catholic Church was correct for some time. Yeah, no.
I guess so, but then again, like I don't know exactly how the Catholics think of keys. Yeah, I guess I really don't know. Well, that's the other thing is like because apparently because they were both saying like like Jacob was polling it's us or the Catholics, and the Catholics are fine running with well we were first, but then I've read that actually the oldest claim, like the oldest extant church that we have a historical record going back farther than any is the Armenian church.
Really?
So yeah. So like, all right,
that is Christian.
Yeah. They're Armenian Catholics, but like,
Jacob. Go ahead. I know I lost it.
Oh no, the only thing is like it's slightly off topic, but I was thinking about this earlier. Is with all the NPR and CNN and all the cope about Nick Shirley, where they're like, well, you see, he's actually just a YouTuber and not a journalist.
He did prank videos.
Oh yeah, he was a prankster before.
Yeah, no, but like
15 years old.
They're basically making the argument that he doesn't have the priesthood authority of journalism.
Yeah,
like NPR and CNN they're authorized journalists, but Nick Shirley, he's just a guy with a camera.
That totally happens everywhere for sure. There's the priestly class nowadays. You got to be credentialed. You must have the credentials.
He's not a true journalism.
But I thought that debate was interesting on like the burden of proof shifting and all that sorts of stuff, which I think Jacob actually did admit to because they had a follow-up conversation altogether.
Yeah, no, and I listened to almost all of the follow-up conversation. And the thing is, like, I can kind of see Jacob's point, but I still think that, like, the way it was set up, like if he had set it up as like, I will prove the apostasy by disproving the papacy, then there would have been no issue. But he didn't do that because he did kind of do a sneaky thing where he's like, I'm going to debate the existence of the apostasy. And then he just came out and said, well, the Pope is wrong. Okay, that's related, but not exactly the same thing.
That brings up the question I was going to ask, but it maybe was never really clarified in my head. But I think it's always kind of different when guys who didn't go stateside and you never ended up debating any evangelicals. I went to a totally Catholic place where everybody's Catholicism was very, very just casual. I'd never met in Mexico some hardcore Bible bashing Catholic, right?
See, we had one. We did have in my apartment complex. One of our neighbors was a kind of autistic kid who wanted to go into the priesthood, and we talked with him a lot. And he was like hardcore. He was like autistically Catholic.
Yeah, never came across it. But since I also never really got into big old debates or even had the opportunity to debate types of evangelicals, there were a couple Jehovah's Witnesses down there, but they would just usually get into stuff about Christ was hung in a straight bar, not on a cross. And
Yeah, they're big on that. I don't understand why that's such a...
I learned something recently about the witnesses that I didn't know. And it's something I learned because it's something that recently changed. Because in their last general conference, one of their big guys came out with a bunch of announcements. Like one of them is, you don't have to wear a necktie anymore. It's like, oh, that's nice. Like they're doing the same thing with it's like 2-hour church thing. But the other thing I learned that I didn't know about witnesses, because they announced that if you want to, you can tink glasses at a cheers. Like, when people do a toast and tink glasses. Apparently, before this year, witnesses were not supposed to do that because it was seen as like pagan ritual.
Jeez.
Starby says there's no record of penis. I put Peter and Linus together. Of Peter to have ordained Linus the first pope. I didn't know Linus, but isn't
I thought
the
it
first
was
pope way after, like hundreds of years?
Well, I thought it was Clement. I don't know. See it.
Anyway, what do this is the whole thing I was preambling for no reason. I always thought in my mind Protestants kind of thought an apostasy happened with the Catholic Church. That's not how they view it at all.
It's us and the Seventh-day Adventists.
So what do Protestants think? They just think that the Catholic Church was holding it from them, but still it was some sort of true or real church or something?
Maybe they think like it's corrupted but not apostatized. I actually don't know.
Because I know that they have the concept of like, well, no, it can just be more personal, that you can access heaven yourself through accessing the scriptures to go directly and kind of round about the church. So maybe it's just the concept of we don't care if there's some sort of true organization or something like that. But I would have thought that they had imagined in their minds that Catholicism had gone wayward.
Martin Luther did not believe in a general apostasy of the Christian church. Instead, he believed in the need for reform within the church to restore the true teachings of Jesus Christ. But that's kind of double speak. Like that's not that different from what Mormons believe, really.
Maybe it's a little bit about.
This thing's like, because again, like. Like I remember talking like the works and works versus faith thing, where it's like, well, there's two sides of the
maybe
coin.
It's kind of like Cardin once again. He went on a pretty epic rant. I like it when he goes on these rants about the bureaucracy of the church, and it's one of the like main reasons I ever thought that they were interesting over there, that they dared to go off on those types of things. But maybe I can even pull up that rant. But maybe that's just how Luther was seeing it. It's like that's become a bureaucracy that we need to fix.
Yeah, probably. That's probably accurate. Yeah, I don't know. That's one thing's like, because I don't having listened to 20 years of Bob Price and Bart Ehrman and stuff, like I just have a completely different conception of the whole early church thing. Just because just that like. It was like reading about Scientology, it's like, well, because nobody's like, oh, what was going on in early Scientology? Like, well, we know. And so like, with the example of Scientology, I'm like, oh, that's how you start a religion. That's how cults start. That's how cults become religions. Like, and I feel like, okay, I know that story. And so like, it's not that crazy to look at, Christianity and being like, yeah, okay, it's probably not altogether different from how Scientology went from a cult to a religion,
Let me pull this thing up. It was kind of funny because Cardin with the folklorist, the BYU, that Christopher Blythe guy, they were talking about Jeffrey R. Holland, and maybe we can talk more about Jeffrey R. Holland and his death and all that sorts of stuff. But he complained about the bureaucracy a couple times, and I did think it was kind of funny the way this BYU professor thought. Initially, it was funny that Cardin felt this was worth bagging on, but the guy said he wrote a letter to Jeffrey R. Holland, and then Jeffrey R. Holland said, "You can come down and meet with me, and we can talk about this in person." And then he felt that he had to go run it by somebody to see if he was allowed to go talk to Jeffrey R. Holland.
Look at this, this text message or this email, whatever it was, or if it was a call, I just told them. But of course, they thought, oh my gosh. One person said, Chris, should you run this up the line? As if I wasn't allowed to talk to an apostle who wants to.
Yeah,
talk
run
to
it
me.
up what line? By the way, tell me you don't have Stockholm syndrome of the church bureaucracy without telling me you have Stockholm syndrome of the church bureaucracy. If your first impulse upon being invited by one of the apostles is to question whether the bureaucracy will allow you to.
So, I mean, he went off on it multiple times talking about how the bureaucracy gets in the way. Let me see if I can find all the times.
Church office building. Like, we totally underestimate the damage that the culture of the bureaucracy creates, because previous
Cardin Luther, man, that's what I'm talking about.
1977, most of these administrative duties were under the auspices of the priesthood. And I'm sure we became a big church, before the.
And that's what we've talked about, the managerialism in that stuff. When managerialism comes for everything, I'm gonna keep pumping them.
Called the church office building and the bureaucracy. And then so on the other side of this, you have the apostles, the Q15, that are saying, lift where you stand, use your talents. God gave you talents. If it's virtuous, if it's lovely, if it's good report and praiseworthy, seek after it, do it, go do, go do, go do. And then so on the other end of this callous tumor, down here, you've got somebody who says, okay, I have this talent. I'm a really good singer. I'm going to prepare an album of youth songs just from everybody in my Southern California region. Bishop, can we do it? Can the ward put funds toward it? You know what? Yeah, actually we can. We got a little bit of money here. Let's even ask the stake. Then the stake president says, oh my gosh, an album of Southern California musicians. This is great. This is just what we need. You know what? Let's see if other stakes want involvement. Then he'll call the regional leader, the area authority, that says, oh my goodness gracious, I've been praying for something big like this. Let me call these 3 or 4 other stakes. Let's see if we can't get one representative for each one. Okay, cool. But gosh, is there any expertise that we could glean from anybody else? So then he calls his leader, and then Curtin McConkie says, no, albums aren't in our insurance program. Or the insurance adjuster says, oh, no, sorry, making Christian musical albums is not part of our premium structure. So goodbye. I don't remember your name. You're not part of my spiritual stewardship. I don't give a crap whether you succeed or fail, because this is my job. I'm no different than a State Farm employee.
That's Cardin at his best. I love when he gets like that.
But is that because you're not supposed to speak ill of the Lord's anointed?
They're not the anointed. They're the managerial class. They're not called to those positions. They're hired to those positions, I guess. But so maybe that's what Martin Luther was doing. It's not an apostasy. It just needs reformation, I guess. I don't know.
Which of the 12 apostles, was one of the 12 apostles like the accountant? One was a lawyer. One was I wonder which one was HR.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they didn't have that stuff back then.
Which was the apostle which apostle had to deal with sex abuse scandals?
Yeah, and obviously they did and had to do it back. I mean, stuff gets so big, you have to pass it off to managers. And all managers do is expand their own power. That's the claim of James Burnham in the managerial class. Anyway, should we wrap up the Somali stuff, or do you want to keep talking to Jeffrey R. Holland? Put a bow on the Somali stuff, or keep talking to the Somali stuff? Are they going to actually get down to stopping fraud anywhere and
there's not.
Oh man, we got RFM right after Jacob left. It would have been fun.
Oh,
To
that
have
would have
those
been a
two
great
at the
crossing
same
of the
time.
streams. I don't like. I mean, there's too much political capital in fraud. I guess I don't know if I'm saying that right.
But it's more of the managerial problems of everything. But let's put what this gal says, and you guys can tell me if Brazil is really like this.
To talk about how the average American is starting to feel as major corruption is being exposed, especially now with the case in Minnesota and the daycare fraud. This is not just about money being stolen anymore. It's about a growing feeling that being a good citizen, being a hardworking person, paying your taxes may not be worth it. People are starting to feel stupid. They think, well, I'm here, I'm playing by the rules, I am working hard, I'm providing for my family, I'm doing the hard work, and I'm the idiot. You see the memes online and we laugh, like, oh, me on my way to work, thinking that I should have just opened a daycare center in Minnesota and made millions. And again, it is funny, but it's also deeply sad, because the next thing is, why am I even doing this? And that's the part that no one wants to talk about, because this kind of feeling shapes culture. I come from Brazil, as you know, and in Brazil we have this thing we call the Brazilian way, which is the idea that there's always a shortcut, there's always a loophole, a way to take advantage of a situation. And people think it comes out of nowhere. Oh, it's just the Brazilian way of living. No, this comes from years of Brazilian people being robbed and nothing being done with the thieves. So we now think that survival means cheating the system before it cheats you. Eventually, people stop believing that being honest is rewarded. When a society teaches its citizens that being honest makes you a loser, well, that's really dangerous. You don't just lose money, you lose trust, you lose dignity, you lose the culture that holds it all together. And once that's gone, it's really hard to get back.
Is that how Brazil is?
Yeah. That also reminds me, earlier this week, I trained a guy at work, and he's a Brazilian immigrant. And wouldn't you guess, he loves Trump getting rid of all the illegals. He's a huge fan, and he's pissed off about the Venezuelans. And like his exact story he talked about, like this was his story he told me, was that like in Brazil, he and his wife were reasonably successful. He owned a shop. He sold eyeglasses. He made prescription eyeglasses. And by Brazilian standards, they did okay, but they wanted to do better. And she got a student visa, and she came to America and ground her way through a bachelor's, master's, and a PhD. And he came with her, but didn't have a work permit for 5 years. So for years, they lived off of they lived super frugally off of the proceeds of his business, until he got, then they finally got their status normalized and he was able to work, and like they're just getting going. And Venezuelans that got here yesterday get their work permits because they're refugees.
I told you that's what the Mexicans go crazy about.
Yeah.
The Mexicans lose their minds about it.
And then the other thing he talked about is the Mexicans are going through the exact same thing, but same thing is so Brazilian immigrants, they come to America, they go through the long system, they get their immigration status normalized, they get a business license, and they're contractors, and they go and get a bid to build somebody's basement, and they bid it out at $25 an hour, and Venezuelan comes in and says, I'll do it for 15, And and it's just amazing because it's because you listen to the left, where it's like, well, that's just far right, ignorant, country bumpkin, MAGA, white Republicans. No, it's brown immigrants that say this to me.
Yeah, for me too. It's 100%. It's always that those luxury beliefs. You know what I mean? Like the stuff they talk about. Like there's all those liberal women back there with them, but. It's absolutely the Mexicans who get driven crazy by the Venezuelans coming in and having all these sorts of subsidies and then taking jobs. And the lady from Rancho Markets who runs Rancho Markets, and I know her personally, she was going crazy that her place that was started ostensibly as a Mexican market had gotten completely pushed out of all the Mexicans there that had been working, some of them under the table for years. And then all the Venezuelans got immediate cards. And then all of a sudden the government came down on them and said, you got to put in the right things in there. And now her whole entire place is Venezuelans. And she doesn't like it. She doesn't want it to be run by Venezuelans.
Because the other thing Brazilian guy said is that those aren't refugees. Those Venezuelans, they're not refugees. They were upper middle class. They're not escaping, political persecution. Not any more than anyone else in Venezuela.
Yeah, if they got here from Venezuela, they had money.
Yeah.
And that's literally true of the Somalis too. That's what Nick Land calls the IQ grinder, is that they say, oh, we need to bring in the poor baby Aladdins and all that stuff. No, the only ones who get here are the ones who had the means to get here. Maybe there were some Mexicans who were the actual like lower class who got just across the border and stuff like that. But if they're coming from those other places, they were richer than the others around them.
Yeah. They were the privileged class.
Yeah. And in a lot of cases, they say in the Venezuelans, some of the ones who ran it off the rails and helped run it off the rails. Kind of funny, the two stories dominating my X feed are one, needing to take 5% of net worth from billionaires to prop up government spending, which is a thing Ro Khanna is pushing, is that they want to put taxes on capital gains taxes, which is the dumbest thing in the world. Unrealized gains.
Oh yeah, unrealized. That's so dystopian.
And fraudsters brazenly taking billions of dollars of taxpayer money with little being done to stop it. And you would think that if there were people who think government is the only answer and the only way and the way forward and how everybody's got to be taking care of this, part of what you would want is a clean running thing behind that, that you should care more about the fraud happening in what you think is better welfare structures. And I saw a bunch of different videos this week too from people in Columbus and Minnesota. They were, in both cases, they were different Black people who said, I was in dire straits, I was in need, I went down to the place to get help, and there was a line of Somalis going out the door for 5 miles, and I got rejected and pushed out of the way. And it's some of those people. One of the persons, PBD, brought up a lady from Columbus, Ohio, and it was a Black lady who said, I've been talking about this for years here in Columbus, Ohio. Please come to Ohio, and do the same type of reporting. But no, they're not the ones who worry about it. Like, oh, if there's just tons of fraud in there, that's fine. It's reparations too, I guess. But
RFM asked if Jacob Hansen explained why he's too chicken shit to debate Colby on the Book of Mormon.
yeah, I saw that Steve Pinecker had asked and invited. Well, actually, Pinecker asked him to wrap up talking about this debate that he had with the Catholics with Colby, and Jacob declined that. But Pinecker says that he will get them to have a conversation before the end of this year. But we've asked Jacob that directly in private messages and stuff like that, and actually we got to the bottom of it because we had a bit of a dispute with Colby of who dodged it or not, and we got it wrong a little bit, and then Jacob, because Jacob had it framed one way and Colby had it framed another way. We asked Jacob directly what it was, and it was ultimately Jacob saying that he didn't want to do it when Colby said he would agree to Jacob's requests. And then Jacob backed out of it from there.
I honestly, I think the answer is like, I would back out of a debate trying to explain the Book of Mormon. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of how much clout I'd have to get to debate somebody that the Nephites really existed. Like, that is an uphill
No,
battle.
but concrete. They found concrete.
And they found a horse ancestor that existed in northern Canada 40,000 years before the Nephites came here.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll pull it up because in the Longhouse, I think Risto asked Jacob's brother Forrest what he thought about the debate, and Forrest and Troy, who are both here all the time, kind of framed it up that Jacob's modus operandi lately is going around debating because he's getting in big time with all those big channels like Pints of Aquinas and what's the Catholic dude who was on Trent Horn, and now with all these Christians, Ruslan, all these people, and he's able to hold his own with them, but his main kind of method of talking to them is saying, hey, look at your church. Your church has wild beliefs too. And one of the big things that Trent Horn says is you're not supposed to argue with other believers like an atheist. And they were using that sort of concept. Actually, Jacob used that against Trent Horn in their debate, saying you're arguing like an atheist. You're arguing like an atheist because any sort of thing that was incredulous, well, you have incredulous issues too in your church. But in the same sort of way, Jacob's kind of using, because that's the Bill Maher argument, like Bill Maher was one of the first persons to start saying to people like, you guys think the Mormons are wild. What about your beliefs? You brought it up in Religulous and all that sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Here, I'll say, I've got it here what Forrest said about it, if it's all right for them to hear it.
I don't think he would mind.
And Troy, too. There you go. You want to read it? I'm going to run the restroom.
All right. So, yeah, it was Reese who asked Forrest what he thought about it, and he said, I've tried to care, but I just can't manage to watch more than 5 seconds of these conversations. Joe said something that I think is true. Jacob tried to win by the element of surprise, which is not something you do if you have truth on your side. Jacob pulled a good debate tactic, but it's because Mormonism is impossible to defend. So he's building a whole brand on not defending Mormonism, but rather attacking others' faiths. His only defense is, oh yeah, but your religion is also weird and absurd. Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, yeah, because like Catholicism is just as wacky. It's not like Catholicism is more plausible than
Well,
Mormonism.
it's that Mormonism has the added difficulty of there's two added difficulties that Mormonism has. One is the fact that it believes basically all the truth claims that other branches of Christianity does, and then a whole other slew of them, right? I remember Sam Harris talking to Cenk Uygur about this, trying to explain to him that like Mormonism is less likely to be true than Christianity, even though Sam Harris believes they're both very unlikely to be true. And his whole argument was, okay, Christians believe that Christ is king. Mormons believe that Christ is king and that he'll come back in Jackson County, Missouri specifically. That's two claims. So one has to be true for both of them. Two has to be true for one of them to be true. But then the other difficulty that Mormonism has is that it's a lot newer. And that like by the time Mormonism came onto the scene, we were really fucking good at documentation. And so much more of this has been written down per, year of existence. At least, well, maybe I don't, because I haven't researched early Catholicism or early any form of Christianity really. So maybe I'm wrong about that. But it was a whole Daniel Tosh bit where he was talking about Mormonism, and he's like, my stance on it is any religion that is young enough for my grandfather to be like, oh yeah, that didn't happen. Probably I'm just going to dismiss it.
I mean, yeah, like to an extent, but again, it's like, I don't know, this is kind of like, well, is Ted Bundy worse than John Wayne Gacy? Like, well,
yeah, I get it.
Like you get to a point of implausibility, and it's all just more implausibility on top of that.
No, I understand. I'm just saying
But,
that
yeah.
people like your general person is more willing to accept the claims of your average Christianity that happened 1,500 years ago than your claims of Mormonism that happened 200 years ago.
You see what Troy wrote there?
What? No, playing a video game.
I don't see it. Sometimes they show up on the.
No, I've got it up though.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay.
Is that how you spell Klieg lights?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Troy said, I agree. I haven't watched any of this debate or the fallout, and for the same reasons. I think Jacob and Ward Radio and Hayden and others who are now doing this kind of straw man surprise apologetics, where they spring a pre-canned attack on distorted version of some position that they imagine their opponents must defend, aren't really doing themselves or the church any favors. Instead, they come off looking deceptive.
The guys over on that, before they had the follow-up discussion with Jacob, they had their own review of it, and they did say that they felt it came off very, very deceptive to the point of if you keep doing that, everybody's going to start thinking of you as a bad actor.
Yeah.
Maybe like a warning or something like that. But then Jacob went on and talked with them directly about it and kind of admitted to shifting the burden. But they were kind of confused about him seeming like such a nice guy, and everybody knows him as such a nice guy. But they felt that shifteroo was deceptive. I think, what's that channel called? Christianity.
Christianity Unchained.
Is that what it is? No,
I don't know. I have followed zero of this.
Jacob. Oh man, I've been trying to avoid Stranger Things spoilers because I have not watched it yet. Not that I even care that much. I just don't want to spoil before. Nobody say anything.
I've gotten enough spoilers that I've been convinced to not go back and watch season 4 like my wife keeps telling me to do.
Yeah. Here, I'll pull up what they said about it kind of directly.
Spoilers, he's double gay.
Dang it! Dang it! You blew it.
Did him and Vecna have a gay off at the end? Like
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. Don't spoil it. Don't
like
spoil it.
Harry Potter style, like wand beam struggle. Like there's the beam in between, and they're trying to out gay each other. Like, I listen to Imagine Dragons.
They have a literal and figurative sword fight.
All right, I've got it here.
About the element of surprise thing that you brought up. Unfortunately, so we hung out with Jacob. He's a very nice guy. I'm friends with him now. I think I would consider him a friend. But it does seem like his tactic in this debate, and maybe this translates to other debates. I haven't really watched a ton of his stuff.
I mean, I've had numerous people warn me he does stuff like this, but he is such a nice guy. He was like, I also knew like the thing he's defending is so indefensible that even if he tries to do something slippery, that he won't succeed. But he is earning a reputation among people who've interacted with him in any capacity of being a little slippery in debates, and that's not who he is as a person. I wish it wasn't who he was as an apologist, because as a person he's incredibly nice. He's incredibly like giving. Like he
I agree with.
He's also a good dad. Like I had a personal experience with him while he was like doing something with his kids while we were on the road and stuff, and I was just like, this guy's like a good dad, you know. And so I don't want to accuse him of like just trying to gotcha and stuff.
Okay, this is kind of wild.
I think
there was a little.
This is kind of wild because this is like the opposite of the reception that he gets in the both Mormon and ex-Mormon world.
Yeah, everybody thinks he's a terrible guy, but makes good arguments in the Mormon.
Well, I feel like I'm one of like 8 guys in the Mormon / ex-Mormon world that'll be like, I think Jacob's a pretty good dude for the most part. And that's it. Like all of them act like he's the biggest dick, like even in his personal life.
Yeah, no, like that's exactly. But that's the thing I always talk about is that like, by trying to make apologetics into a career, he's making himself into a liar. But like that's because of that. Like I think in every other aspect of his life, yeah, he seems like a totally put together dude. But you know,
Risto said he had a phone call.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt at all that Jacob's a very good dad. Like I mean, I'm friends with him on Facebook. I see him constantly posting shit, going out with his boys, doing fun stuff. And
I think Jacob's a way nice guy, personally and all that stuff. Who Risto's asking who understands LDS. Risto, I was wondering where you were because I thought we had a whole section there that you would have been all over, not just the Somali stuff. Because Risto loves the Somalis. He's from Minnesota, and he'd love to have pushed back on us talking about them. I'm sure, although I don't think we were that mean to him. But we also were talking a lot about wondering what Protestants think and what Catholics think about apostasy, and if apostasy was real, and then Flip called it all Star Trek.
Yeah, that's my move.
Risto says he thought Jacob did better than Joe, but do you think that he shifted the burden of proof? Did he break a debate rule? Well, he totally did that. I mean, because the whole thing was he agreed that he would take the burden of the proof of that one, and then his proof was to say the burden of proof is actually yours in a weird way.
Yeah.
It shifts a lot. Anyway, yeah, these guys, I mean, it did kind of sound like talking about this stuff. It was interesting to see these kind of capturing Christianity as a channel. 403,000 subscribers. Jacob's going up in the world. He had a chance to debate Jay Dyer too, and I told him he should take it, but he turned it down. But Jay Dyer comes hard at people. He's not polite like these guys are. But I mean, Jacob's been on all these big major channels. He's getting out there beyond what was the atheist guy that he's on with?
Alex O'Connor.
Yeah, starting with Alex O'Connor, Ruslan, Trent Horn, now these guys, I think some other pretty big Christian channels he's been talking with, going up in the world, and that's why some people have called him the #1 Mormon apologist nowadays. I saw somebody else say that to him.
Honestly,
Ruslan said that to him.
He's probably the most well known at this point in these circles, anyway.
That's because I was just thinking like, well, he's the new Hugh Nibley, which is like, well, that's as much an insult as a compliment.
That's actually, I think Starbase was saying that. A couple people were saying that in the chat, that he's taken the Hugh Nibley approach, which I don't know what that even means. I have not paid attention to Hugh Nibley or.
Hugh Nibley was. Risto's not going to like this. I rate Hugh Nibley a lot like C.S. Lewis, where.
So he's awesome.
He was a wonderful writer. Like he was funny. He was a really entertaining writer, but his apologetics were just shit. You know, like, I mean, they're a little bit different in that, you know.
Well, yeah, but like, who would you rate as having good apologetics?
Well, that's just it. Is like that's what I keep saying. Is that, like,
yeah,
if you're doing apologetics, like if you're doing apologetics, you're doing shenanigans, you know, like that's, you know, the one of Bob Price's many little catchphrases is, "Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to believe," you know, like that's my whole thing with Jacob and all these guys is do yourself a favor and admit that it's faith, you know, that then there's nothing to argue about. You can have your faith and nobody's going to call you sneaky or dishonest or point out your shitty arguments, you know, I mean, like, you know, to shit on Jacob a little bit, that, you know, that infamous thing with the Gospel of Abraham, the Book of Abraham, and you know, his whole thing where he's like, if this was Joseph Smith's handwriting, that would be totally damning, and it was Joseph Smith's handwriting, and Jacob just kind of hand waved that away, like, no, man, like you gotta sit with that, you gotta deal with that. You know, like, or maybe learn the lesson of like, well, don't go down that road, you know, because like if you just say like, look, I got faith in the scriptures, but if you're trying to say that I should believe the Book of Abraham, you're gonna run into problems like when you put the image up and say, if this was Joseph Smith's handwriting, that would be damning, and lo and behold, it's Joseph Smith's handwriting.
Radio Free Mormon says, for years I blamed my inability to understand Hugh Nibley on myself. And Charles said, people love Nibley because he sounded smart to Mormons without saying fuck all substance. Risa asked if Ostler is the new Nibley. I don't think Ostler is known at all by the layman Mormon. Do you think? I don't think my parents know of Ostler at all.
No.
And Nibley was huge. Every Mormon knows Nibley.
The thing I remember most about Nibley is that he was funny. Like he was just funny to read. Like he had a real good sense of humor.
He also was inside the system. Like
Ostler
he was at the university, and
yeah.
You know.
Ostler is pretty funny too, but I'm talking about Blair Ostler. One of the funniest books I have ever started reading and not finished was Queer Mormon Theology.
Look at this. We got an all-star cast here tonight. We had Jacob. We had Radio Free Mormon. Now we got Troy's around. Everybody's an all-star around here on the poker table. The little poker table. And we got Steve Pinecker popping in and saying, unfortunately, Jacob pulled out of our post-debate analysis with Colby Reddish, but stay tuned for only non-partisan one coming. Steve, I saw you predict that, but was that wishful thinking that you would get them, or do you really have one in the works? Radio Free Mormon says Jonah Barnes. The one
yeah, that's true.
Jonah Barnes isn't like, I don't know, the way that Flip described Nibley is that he was funny because of his wit. Jonah Barnes is funny because of we laugh at him.
No, that thing is like the other thing you can say about Hugh Nibley is that he had original ideas, and Jonah Barnes does not have original ideas.
Who was the guy that Warden everybody kept having on?
Troy asked him, did Jacob explain why he withdrew? And Radio Free Mormon said, oh, Jacob said he withdrew because he's a chicken shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that.
I don't know anything about this, but this is pretty funny to watch.
I mean, I don't know. That seems like it. Jacob drives me nuts because his apologetics are so shit. And like we've already said, like he seems like a totally nice guy.
Okay,
like, but just my interactions with him, he is like he's developing a greatest hits of just bullshit.
No,
you know,
I
like-
think within, like, if you're playing within the chess game, like you're saying, like we're going to be debating Star Trek within Star Trek. I think
Yeah.
within that he does well. Like, I think there might be some people who listened. Like, if it was Star Trek versus Star Trek lore, Star Trek lore versus Star Trek lore, he makes good cases for his Star Trek lore.
Well, that's
Yeah.
kind of why, that's why I asked.
I guess I'd take that.
That's why I asked the question, like, what apologists do you think aren't shit? And your answer is kind of like,
Well, no. Like, if
once you
you're in the
engage in
apologetic
apologetics,
game,
you're stupid.
yeah.
But if you're in the apologetics game, like, because we're
because again, like
we're
well,
talking
things
about like heavyweight champions versus like 13-year-old girl champions.
Well, obviously, like I mean, the guy who's legendarily difficult to deal with is William Lane Craig. Now, he's absolutely full of shit, and he repeats dishonest arguments that he has been corrected on, but like he is phenomenally good at the rhetorical game.
Do you not think that maybe some Christians or anybody, 403,000 subscribers of that channel, right? There was some people who listened to that and are playing within the game of those ideas, probably thought Jacob did pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, that's things I wonder. Of the 405,000 people or whatever that listen to that, how many of them changed their minds? I'm guessing close to zero. Like that's one of the things that like Bart Ehrman talks about all the time, where like he enjoys doing debates because they're fun, but he's also completely annoyed by them because nobody changes their minds from a debate. It's so extremely rare, especially on religious stuff.
But inside the debate, but most people are doing it for performatively for their audiences or something like that. But I think some debates do make me like. I listened to the debate about hitting your kids or not hitting your kids with Stefan Molyneux versus the Wood Elves, and I thought the Wood Elves actually made some arguments that I hadn't have thought of before from evolutionary standpoints, and I'm like, as an observer, you can be,
yeah, it's well, that one's difficult to make too, because I almost feel like I'm just kind of deontologically against hitting your kid.
I am too, but they made the best argument for it.
They did make the best argument I've ever heard for hitting your kid. It's just that I feel like it's in order to effectively get your kid to stop a behavior by using physical force against them, you have to hurt them enough that it means something to them. But then if you hurt them enough that it means something to them, you're also going to fuck them up.
Functional physicalism, is that what you call hitting your kids, Troy? He's talking about Dan Dennett. I just like that's what we're going to call justifying hitting your children. It's functional.
But that's basically what he did say. He said we have evolved and been evolved to grow up with understanding that being bopped on the butt is the way you learn as a youngling or something like that. That's
Risto, you don't mean that about Lee Strobel. Lee Strobel, I think, is as dishonest as they come. That guy is an absolute hack. I mean, he's popular, but
Steve's grandpa was Hugh Nibley's zone leader. He said people had to keep an eye on him or he would wander off and get lost.
I believe that.
Radio Free Mormon says Jacob debates Star Wars in the Star Trek debate.
And then he said it's the no true Sith fallacy.
Troy says yes, he's a pretty good sheep stealer. Get into the Star Wars, Star Trek end of that. You just said that one. Who's the best?
Degrees of Jacob.
Charles says one thing I've learned from attending Christian church recently is that both groups do not think alike at all. It's like they're speaking two different languages. Yeah. Anyway.
Because listen, apologetics, in its very bones, apologetics is dishonest in the sense that it pretends to be about arguments for the faith. What it is you're talking to the believers that already accept your faith, and these are arguments you can use to reassure yourself of your faith. That's what apologetics really is about functionally, because no atheist ever listened to William Lane Craig and was like, "Oh my God, Kalam Kalasmal argument, God is real." Like that never happened, never ever.
I've heard somebody claim it.
Yeah,
it was Vocal Distance. Vocal Distance claimed it.
That he listened to William Lane Craig and
it
became
de-atheist him, and he was Jewish and he became Christian.
Well,
he was a Jewish atheist and became Christian because he was impressed with William Lane Craig.
Craig is mostly,
I don't know.
Craig is mostly like a really good regurgitation of C.S. Lewis. That's most of what he's. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've read it, but I read Mere Christianity, and then one of my friends wanted me to listen to a bunch of Craig, and I listened to him, and I was like, "Yeah, this sounds a lot like C.S. Lewis." Now, Radio Free Mormon said something interesting that really resonates with me. He says you can't love your conclusions too much, or your conclusion too much, and like that. My STEM brain really gloms onto that. And then I think of like insane people, like Jordan Peterson brought up the what was the tampon king of India or whatever, who basically created menstrual pads or tampons or something like that, and like he would wear the pad himself and put pig's blood on it to see if and he would try to get other people to do it, and like he lost friends over it, and then finally he created a really fucking solid menstrual pad. It was just he was very married to his conclusion that I can fucking do this, and it worked. So I don't know.
The other thing with apologetics for me though is like, because like I am now in my third decade of routinely listening to Christian apologists, and I have yet to hear something I haven't heard that I didn't hear in my first 6 months of listening to Christian apologetics. Like there really is just kind of a handful of arguments and their variants, and it's just rehashing the same fucking thing over and over and over and over and over again. You know, like there's, that's one thing like cracks me up is like the Christian research ministry. Like, oh fuck you, what research? You guys haven't come up with a new idea. Like, because for one thing, a new idea would be blasphemy because you think that you already have all the ideas that are necessary. Like somebody, it's like a new apologetic is like inventing a new chord in music. Like, no, it's all been mapped out already. There's only so far you can go, and we reached the limit.
I made a new one.
Oh, did you? The H sharp minor?
No, an apologetics, but my apologetics was an H sharp minor. Okay, so no, I have not made a new chord.
I made a new apologetic that you didn't even consider.
What?
It was my Facebook post talking about, okay, atheists, explain this. Jim Henson, who created the Muppets.
MRM, those guys are.
What was it? C.S. Lewis or who? No, it was Charles Dickens who wrote Christmas Carol, and then whoever the fuck decided that combining those two together would create the best piece of media in the last 50 years. Okay, tell me there's no God.
Well, you just convinced me.
Yeah.
But you want to know why? It's because of your Chad physiognomy, not because of the argument.
Dude, I have been mewing a lot lately.
Steve, have you ever encountered Steve Shafafalov? He's in MRM.
Are you related to Steve Shafafalov, Steve?
I don't think so, because the first name is not a family name.
Ryan says a response by Dan Vogel during presentation.
That's one of my jokes, man.
Oh,
Ryan Weaver says the response.
Is it Aaron Shafafalov? What's his name? His last name is Shafafalov. I don't remember. I might have his first name wrong.
Ryan Weaver says response by Dan Vogel during a presentation.
Aaron Shafafalov. There, Risto knows him.
2003 turned me atheist.
That's one of my autism tests. Is that when I meet someone, he'll be like, "Oh, hi, I'm Patrick." It's like, "Patrick? Like Pat?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, "Are you related to Pat Morita or Patrick Stewart?" And if he says first names aren't, and then I'll be like, "Yeah, you're autistic."
Troy says, I like C.S. Lewis. He's kind of like a utilitarian mythicist, and I like that angle. And Riso says he worked from a possibility angle, and I actually like C.S. Lewis too. We did a book club together. You guys didn't show up to it, and Risto had a whole book club, and I went through all of
Mere Christianity
with Risto and his wife, and with Marty and with Kevin. and we listened to the whole thing. Although when it got to,
Wait,
especially all of us kind of being Mormons, Kevin, yeah, our boy
Wait,
Kevin,
Kevin or Kevin
Yeah.
Marty's husband?
both. They were both.
All the
Oh,
Kevins.
oh man, yeah, I should have done that. I'm so fucking lazy.
But it was an uphill battle for Riesel with Mormon brains, because it's weird that even though we are, I remember Brett Weinstein making this argument to Sam Harris that his atheism sure seemed to be a lot like a Jewish atheism, and our atheism or ex-Mormonism is a Mormonism. Like I cannot get my brain outside of the physical God concept of God. Even if I'm even arguing with like a Trinitarian or people who kind of believe like God's an everywhere smoke monster, the one thing and all that stuff, my brain doesn't go there. Like I think of the God that I'm arguing against is still the Mormon God deep down inside, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, well, that thing is like the not corporeal God. Like for me, it's like, okay, so how's that different from pantheism? Like,
I got to say something about this. Yeah, pantheism and stuff like that. Radio Free Mormon says Rebecca remains quite proud of our Autist of the Month award. You want to know what, Radio Free Mormon? You guys had a top list of the top Mormons and story, and people voted on it, and the Temple Spires made top billing. I don't think it was number one. It was like number two, and I was so shocked by that people vote for it. I'm like, this is why we got a poker table worth of people, and you guys got 30,000. I guess it's like big news and big deals to everybody, but I can't understand why that thing is so capturing with people. It just doesn't work on my autistic brain. But she got it right, and her autistic reporting on that, I think, gives her Autistic of the Year, because if that was like the top Mormon story of this year,
well,
and she's right and we're wrong, she out autisted us, and we're pretty autistic. We are pretty autistic, and she out autistic.
Yeah. Well,
he's got a 3D printer because we
Morgan
can have.
does.
Oh, okay. Because we gotta have
We'll have to come up with an artist of the word.
We gotta have Streeter uses AI to create the model for the Autist of the Year trophy. Then
They're
we'll
saying that she didn't
Morgan
get
print
nominated
it out.
for a Brody, but we give her an Autistic Brody of the Year for us here, because she was
Ah.
right and we were wrong.
Well, yeah, that's I don't know. I think most normie people when they hear us do the Autist of the Week, they think it might be insulting, but it's like pretty much always complimentary. It's like
autism's
I don't
complimentary around here.
care about this. I don't care about this Temple Spire thing, but just watching somebody who, like, the fact that
This
you would
entire
have that
discussion on debate was
autistic
all
focus-
autism.
Yeah, well, it's the autistic focus on something so specific and just not letting it go.
We got to work out what.
And it was the most popular story nominated by the
Yeah.
crowd in Mormonism.
To Rebecca.
We got to work out what autism causes vaccines is in Latin. That'll be the motto. That'll be the motto on the statue for the prize.
So speaking of debate and changing minds and autism, let me just get this out right here. The clavicular went. You remember this is the looks maxing kid, and he went on the Michael Knowles show, and he talked about how Fuentes and him and all those guys say that they are
cycle. Who's going to win? It's going to be Gavin Newsom against JD Vance because JD Vance is subhuman and Gavin Newsom bugs.
JD Vance is subhuman?
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom, yeah, I mean, I guess if you're going on full mogging, Gavin Newsom would beat out JD Vance.
Yeah, let me get that again.
This next election cycle, who's going to win? It's going to be Gavin Newsom against JD Vance because JD Vance is subhuman and Gavin Newsom bugs.
JD Vance is subhuman?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
He's got a very short total facial width to height ratio. He's obese, very recessed side profile, whereas Newsom is like 6'3" Chad.
So you're JD's gotta be.
Okay. You guys think people are debating autistic things like we're debating? It's only for people around this poker table here. All that matters is who's a Chad, who mogs, and who is subhuman looking. That's all that. And if we did Hugh Nibley's arguments and Jacob's arguments when we were with Gavin Newsom's physiognomy, if we go and put that out in the world, that's how you win hearts and minds.
No, I think about, like, I don't know, not in a way that makes moral judgments, but I think about physiognomy a lot. And JD Vance just has a very unfortunate physiognomy.
Well, people always liken it back to JFK versus like the first filmed debate, JFK versus Nixon.
No, I get it. I watched that debate. I don't totally understand it because they're talking about how nervous and sweaty Nixon looked. And when I'm watching it, I'm like, what? No, but maybe that's because I've seen more recent debates. So I don't know. But the physiognomy thing, like JD Vance looks like the kind of guy who, when he does gain fat, it goes to his face first. And that's, if you're a guy, that's the worst place fat can go to first, is your face. People just do not take you seriously.
those memes of fat JD Vance always make me laugh. Like every long-haired fat JD Vance. And he did it for Halloween, and he's got a good sense of humor about it, or at least his handlers told him to have a good sense of humor about it in the current age. But yeah, that they say that the taller person has won in the presidency every single time ever since film was invented, right? So we're all talking about these debate tactics and these autistic things. It's got nothing to do with anything. It's who's
Biden. Is Biden taller than Trump?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Trump was. Oh well.
I guess we could double check it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. Maybe I'll look it up.
Al Gore might have been taller than.
I mean, there was
that one was pretty barely.
Like Michael Dukakis was already shrimpy, and then they did that thing where they tried to make him look tough by putting him in an army helmet and having his stick his head out of a tank, and it just made him look shrimpier than ever. And
See,
even they literally credit with him losing that campaign because of that one picture.
Oh shit, dude! No, Biden is 6 feet tall. Trump is 6'3".
Oh really?
It really was stolen.
Yeah,
it really was stolen.
You had proof. You just proved it right there. We should have submitted that to the courts. That was the Leviathan they were.
Cthulhu's
Cthulhu. Yeah. If people don't know, because this kid shows you that you can use your autism to crack the non-autism of other people, and that's what the whole idea of looks maxing is you can get into making yourself be presentable to the mind that doesn't break down whether your arguments are right or wrong or you're a good person, just if you mog the room. This is how those scores break down for there's a PSL rating for looks maxers, just so you guys know. For men, the scale starts with subhuman, goes up to low, mid, and high tier normies, then Chad light, and then finally the Chad is on top.
This is like the physiognomy version of like imbecile, moron, idiot, stupid, retard, etc.
Yeah.
Like this is the medical terminology now.
The female hierarchy swaps out Becky for normie and Stacy for Chad. So now you know how the kids talk, and now you know how to win debates. You just got to looks max. You got to break your jaw so that your jaw, he's having like a jaw surgery where they break the jaw so the jaw will come out. And then there's mewing. You guys know about mewing, right?
Oh, yeah.
You say all the kids are in the classes nowadays doing mewing. I've heard teachers complain that kids in the classes are mewing and they can't get them to stop mewing to pay attention. Mewing is you got to make your face look sexier by sitting there sucking your cheeks in and putting your tongue up hard against the top of your tongue, so it'll lean out your face and strengthen your jawline type stuff. And actually Brett Weinstein had a whole episode on how it might be beneficial to teeth to do mewing. Anyway, so that's how debates are actually won these days. But let me see here.
Starbase asked Risto what his stance on Sydney Sweeney was.
His stance on Sydney Sweeney. Yeah, he actually talked about it.
He said she looks very sleepy, a little slow. Here's my stance on Sydney Sweeney. She's smart enough to know to just shut up. I don't care what she thinks.
She looks like she's from Spokane.
No, she
I don't
has
know
that.
why, but I just picture that. Yes, you got it.
She does have that look on her face, and that her voice, like, I'm just very valley girl. You know,
she looks like the gal that nobody thought was hot until 6th grade, and all of a sudden something develops, and everybody's like, whoa, and that. You know.
Yeah, tell us your stance on what makes a hot 6th grader.
That South Park Bebe's boobs destroy
Bebe's
society.
boobs. Ta. Ta.
So
ta.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Ta. 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 Ta.
Ta-ta.
Ta. 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 Ta.
These Ata.
Um,
You see, Stan, one day you'll find Ata
So-
of your own, and they'll be special.
Clavicular brought his consulting talents to Nick Fuentes.
We're gonna get Nick on roids, guys. I think
Yes,
it's,
I'm getting on Tren. We're going to do a protocol.
not trend. So the thing about steroids
He
that
takes
happens
it
to a
seriously.
lot of people is you talk about steroids. You know, they're good if you do them right, but you really have to give people the most comprehensive cycle and advice, or else they'll turn to shit. Steroids, if you just use testosterone without any of the cycle support and the blockers, you're going to descend.
Dude,
You're going to look
if I
minimized
was
rather than look
writing-
your hairline's going to fall out.
Get a giant head.
Yeah. So
Like
you,
if I was
have any
writing a Chad fag dumbass and just totally trying to clown on him, I would have written this dude. Like exactly this dude. 'Cause that line where it's like, we're gonna get Nick on steroids, and then Nick sort of jokingly says some specific steroids, like, well, that's actually not what we would do for this situation. But like that's exactly what you would write if you're sitting there in a writer's room trying to brainstorm how to write this dude.
How to write an autistic kid?
Yeah, holy
I mean,
fuck.
he is. I mean, he says he's autistic, but yeah, this is how you autism. And all of his looks maxing stuff, you hear him talk about it and go into detail about it. He talks about every little thing he possibly does to make himself look big, but he also can't look too big. He's got to keep the twink because you don't want twink death. Remember what twink death is? Twink, all these words. Twink. Leonardo DiCaprio went through twink death. He used to be a twink, which girls found hot, and then all of a sudden he looked like an old man, and then that gave him the ick. And you can't give girls the ick, right? They got to stay twinks nowadays, which has probably changed up, as he will say, from the SSRIs and the hormonal treatments that they're on, because they would have in the past liked men to turn more masculine. Like as they got older, they would look for a Gene Hackman, but not anymore. They're only attracted to twinks because all their hormones are screwed up. And he's got the details on that. Anyway, I thought Carl Benjamin Sargon had a good answer to this whole thing right here. The problem with Zoomers struggle with is very similar to the hypothetical Alistair McIntyre proposed at the beginning of After Virtue. They understand that there was a thing called masculinity, and they are seeking to reconstruct it, but they only have the exigencies and aesthetics from which to judge. They understand nothing of the essence which produces the outcomes. Their reconstruction, therefore, looks artificial, material, and bizarre from the authentic position. They were raised in a feminist system and the lack of culture tools to become men in any traditional sense, and so are left attempting to pick up the pieces. It's not their fault, but it is their burden. And that kind of gets into like the hyper reality stuff. But I actually had those things run through my mind when I was young and going to a gym all the time and thinking about my grandpa, who had, it's actually in the lyrics of one of my songs, that he had a six-pack at 80 and I punched it and it hurt my hand. And he was a real cowboy and a miner and all that stuff and was shredded his whole entire life. And I'd think about, I'm going to the gym to be fake that. Like I can't just go work in the mine all the time. I'm going to the gym all the time to be fake my grandpa.
Like I remember learning about how the classic American breakfast of eggs, bacon, hash browns, potatoes, pancakes, syrup, that's basically just dessert now. It's the worst fucking thing for you. But if you were a farmer and you were about to go work all day, that made perfect sense. That's exactly the right thing you need if you're actually going to be exerting yourself all day long.
It's funny. We talk about, I don't know. We talk about farm kid strength basically at work, because we know there's a lot of kids that were farm kids. And there's this guy I work with who he looks like his body is basically my body, right? He does not look big. He does not look imposing or strong, even though I do. But he's like, one of the other guys I work with a lot was telling me, oh, dude, we were bored one day. There was nothing going on. So we started doing arm wrestling. And this guy I'm talking to, he's like a big gym guy. And there's a lot of other big gym guys. And they're going at it and arm wrestling and having a good time. And he's like, dude, Vinny came in there. And Vinny's a guy that looks like he's built like me. And he just annihilated everyone. No matter how Jimmy they were, and no matter how massive they were, like he just not even trying, just like they weren't even there, just destroyed him. I was like, oh yeah, that's a whole different ballpark. And I don't know, the gym tries to replicate it, but I don't think it can.
Yeah. So Brigitte Bordeaux, I mean, this goes in line with it too. The same. This also goes in line with how like Nick Fuentes says to people, and the phrase started going around like Hitler's cool and awesome. And like, what are you talking about? It's cool and awesome. He did the Holocaust. And like, but the edits are awesome. And what they mean by that is those edits are like they're cool YouTube videos of like, oh, it looks like a cool guy saying cool stuff and yelling and looking cool. And that's how Gen Z talks and gets things nowadays. And that's being somebody who mogs and looks like a Chad. And
Yeah, Hitler mogged.
Yeah,
for sure.
So this thing went around. This Brigitte Bordeaux died, and a bunch of stuff came out about how she was anti-Muslim and all that sorts of stuff. This whole article here was about her complaining about immigration. So they made sure to say she had a problematic life. Mourning Brigitte Bordeaux doesn't mean absolving her and all that sorts of stuff. And somebody pointed out that all people did in the comments was say that is the person who hold on. This is who wrote that article on Brigitte Bordeaux.
Oh, God damn it. Post physique.
Debate over, right? Like everybody just said that's the end of the debate. Like it's almost kind of just like physiognomy stuff, you know? And
oh my God, I thought she had like some like jacket pockets up here and her arm was inside the pockets. And that nope, her arm's down at
No.
God, I'm such a dick.
Yeah. I'll share it. Let's see what they say about her.
Brigitte Bordeaux is being remembered everywhere right now as an icon. People talk about her hair, her films, and especially her love of animals. But when we only tell that story, we're not actually remembering her or marketing her and forgetting her prevalent racism. Across the last decades of her life, Bordeaux repeatedly attacked migrants, Muslims, queer people, and the poor. Courts in France convicted her for times for incited racial hatred.
Yeah,
In her book,
citation needed.
published in 2003, she warned of what she called the Islamization of France and described Muslims as
She was right. When he she warned that France was letting in too many Muslim migrants. Oh man, what a bitch! What a bitch!
I mean, lady,
here we are 24 years later.
I want you to go to Saudi Arabia and walk around like that and see how long they put up with that.
Oh my gosh, did you see? Oh, I'll keep playing this for a second. But just last night, a TikToker, a woman who looks like this, a TikToker, a woman who looks
Hey,
like.
Colby, RFM keeps telling us that you're big old chicken shit and you bitched out of your debate with Jacob. Is that what's going on? Anyway, go on. Sorry.
That's what Steve said too, right?
Yeah. Steve said it. They all said it. What the fuck, man?
Wait,
it's an easy argument. You're arguing that the Book of Mormon didn't happen. What the fuck, Colby?
No, wait, weren't you guys gonna review together this debate about the apostasy? Was that on the table?
That's what Steve made it sound like. But
wait, they were good.
Yeah, they were gonna like Colby didn't even want to talk to him.
Can we get the thing where they fight like he did with that other guy? Like literally fight?
Yeah, Jason Isbell. Or
There you go.
Jacob Isbell.
You know, Jason Isbell is the drive-by truckers guy, right?
Oh yeah, he's awesome. I mean, he's politically retarded, but he is.
Oh, I didn't know that. I only knew that he played a mean mandolin.
He drinks a mean beer.
I was gonna say this TikToker. Dang it, I lost it already. I thought I saved it earlier. A TikToker gal who looks just like that wanted to go show people that it was safe to go around. All the fear about the Muslims on New Year's Eve was a problem. So she went around them. She got stoned. She got stoned.
Here's
She
the
had
thing.
2 rocks thrown at her head.
I've talked about this before. I seriously have talked about this before. I always get her name wrong, but her artist name was, I think, Pipa Boca or something like that. She was a French artist, and I think it was the late 90s, who wanted to prove to people that Islamophobia was fucked up. So she's from France, and she, in a wedding dress, decided to hitchhike.
I thought
She
it-
decided to hitchhike across the Middle East, and I think she got to Jordan, and I think Jordan was the first nation she went to, and she was kidnapped, raped, and murdered.
her head cut off. Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know.
That
It was
story's happened.
brutal.
It's happened more than 5 times.
It's happened a lot, but like this.
Au. Ich glaube, wenn ich so 2 Meter Türsteher stand, hätten die das nicht gemacht. Ah, schon wieder, Alter. Wichser!
Falling her, throwing rocks at her.
Jesus, that's. I mean, it's I understand a lot of people say "fuck around, find out," but you can't
No,
help but
it's
watch
not-
that and feel just terrible for her.
Yeah. No.
And it's like, what are the chances, like, if we went through her social media timeline, we'd see a bunch of stuff of her talking about the evils of, like, female genital mutilation, you know?
Probably 0, if I had to guess.
That's the whole thing that just melts my mind. Is like, why can't everybody take it like Christopher Hitchens? Even Christopher Hitchens, I was just watching that he said some stuff. He could take both sides of it because obviously we knew that he went hard at Islam, right? But he also had some reservations about Zionism and spoke about that. I don't know if people know it. He was obviously like pro. He was pro. People called him like a neocon, pro the Iraq War and all that stuff, and that's how he fell out for a lot of people. But he had major reservations about Zionism, and anybody who's like just incapable to have the nuance of seeing both, I don't think are serious religion critics.
He's one of the only people that I remember, like, openly advocating for Kurdistan. You know, like, because they say, like, the Kurds are the world's largest ethnic group without their own country.
Yeah. Anyway, none of this debate matters. All that matters is who mogs who, and the Mormons don't drink alcohol, and they don't drink, and they don't smoke. So watch out; they're gonna win on mogging, and mogging is the future.
Does that make you feel bad for Pritzker? Like, Pritzker has presidential ambitions, and you're just like, sorry, man, you're fat. You can't mog anyone.
But that I didn't finish the whole thing. That clavicular guy was saying that JD Vance just needs to start getting in shape or he's out. But we were always talking about before how Nick Fuentes says that he also would vote for JD Vance because he doesn't have a I won't use his word, an Indian wife.
Oh, you mean he would vote for Gavin Newsom because he doesn't have a Jeet wife?
Yeah,
he's not a fat gay race traitor.
Yeah. Do you know that one of Vivek's sons, his oldest son, is named Vivek? I said Vivek. Yeah, JD Vance's son. Anyway, moving on. That's all that matters with debates. Not who's the most autistic, who mogs the most. But nowadays, you can use your autism to mog harder because you can look smacks and make your jaw stronger.
I still think that peak JD Vance would be less attractive than peak Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, no, that's just part of the problem with the whole thing. And he said it's just lost. He just can't catch up to it and that sort of stuff. But anyway, moving on. People were offended at the nice things that John DeLynn said to Quick about. Let's see this.
Whoa, what's this?
I consider myself still Mormon. I've reached out to my bishop.
I already
And I've said, hey, Bishop, if I came to sacrament meeting, would you be okay with that? I can't say that I would request to be rebaptized. But if the church were to say, John, we take away your excommunication and you're still a member, I think I would at least occasionally attend.
Excuse me?
Can we do a physiognomy check on this guy?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was thinking. John DeLynn accidentally mogged on him, and it's John DeLynn.
John DeLynn can. We've always said John DeLynn can win debates because he mogs. He has that success head. He has Guy Smiley, Conan O'Brien head, and he's like 6'8". Like John DeLynn could win all debates just by mogging.
Well, that seems like because like this guy. I mean, okay, I can't grow facial hair. I can't even try to grow facial hair. I can't grow facial hair, but this guy he's got a Hitler mustache. Like he needs to shave. Like you are not a mustache guy. You
He's
can't
got
do it.
faint,
You need
a
to stop.
very faint Hitler mustache.
It comes out that way. Like he's lucky. He doesn't
Hitler,
have black hair.
Hitler would be like, "Shaven das Scheiße, okay?"
Decade plus of talking about how the roots of Mormonism are corrupt. Not just the fruits, but the roots. All right? That can't be
Fruits versus
replaced.
roots.
Historically set in stone. And
You got me
talking
on
to people
physiognomy.
about their
and
experiences with it.
I'm just looking at this guy and I'm like, how are you way thinner than me but have more chins?
And how harmful that they were. To go on and say something like this, to me,
and totally redeem yourself.
Anyone's ever wondered why there's a lot of women who leave the church and still have myths with men who have left the church?
What?
Exhibit A. All right, I know caught a lot of flack from
Can you change his microphone?
Ex-Mormon men are bad. No, that's TikTokers. They film in multiple different sessions.
An opinion I had a couple months ago about people who leave the church and still support BYU. This isn't that same thing. I think it's a privilege to be able to say, hey, yeah, I got excommunicated. I talk crap about the church. I talk about how it's so bad and I don't like it. But if they were to say you can come back, I would. The privilege to be able to say that. The privilege to be able to say that while there are people who...
What's a privilege? Anybody can say that.
Want to be at church. Want to be partaking of the
Is the
sacrament.
fist the man version of bird hands?
Yeah, bird hands. Who is that? Homath talks about bird hands.
Bird hands.
Yeah.
In the temple, but can't. All right, because of who they are. All right, the privilege to be able to say, yeah, I'm out here. I'm, this and this and this. I'm talking negatively about. I'm talking about how bad it is. But if they were to invite me back, I'd come back for at least a little bit. I don't.
How many LGBT ex-Mormons say that though? Like,
Dude,
we know because of this guy's usage of privilege. We know from the shibboleth usage of privilege, this guy is a woke hack. And so earlier he was talking about not just the fruits, but the roots of Mormonism. Like, okay, well, let's talk about the fruits and roots of your dumb bullshit, guy.
That's the point. Yeah. The roots.
Like it. That's my opinion. You can, of course, disagree.
I do.
But it feels disingenuous. It feels like wanting to have your cake and eat it too. And it feels like wanting to have fans on both sides. And I don't understand it. I don't.
Dylan does want to have fans on both sides. He's trying to
I love clowning on John DeLynn. It's one of my favorite things we've done on this. So stop making me defend him. And now I'm stuck on the physiognomy thing. And I'm like, if my daughter brought this guy home, I'd turn into a boomer conservative and be cleaning my gun on the porch or some shit. Like, come on.
I just get the razor and be like, come on, guy. We got to get rid of that thing.
Yeah, that's got to go.
I've got more of that stuff, but that just reminded me of something. You talked about like the roots, and we went over like the roots of feminism one time and like how nuts all that stuff got. People don't really eat all the way back to feminism and the Seneca Falls. What do they call it? Like the Seneca Falls Declaration in 1830 something. That 100% said all men were blamed for.
The first feminist to serve in the U.S. Senate was a segregationist who thought that we should bring back or keep lynching. Like, she was a big fan of lynching. She didn't think that black people should vote. Like that was the first feminist senator in United States history.
Yeah. So I've got another one. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So frustrating to me to hear Mormons.
Oh, she's got fists. Bird hands. There's the birds.
Oops, I lost it.
About how he still considers himself a Mormon and that if they took away his excommunication, he would love to casually attend, because he talks about how even though he knows the church isn't true and that it's all a bunch of bullshit, that when he thinks back on his time as a Mormon, he thinks back of it fondly and how he enjoyed it and it was so good. Yeah. And this is not the first man who's left the church that I've seen have this exact same take. And I'm going through the comments other men who are comfortable expressing the same
I
exact
could tell
sentiment. They're
you-
all like, one of the comments
Sorry,
was like,
sorry. Go ahead.
I could point you to a woman who has said a similar thing. My fucking wife, like a week ago.
You mean a man?
Yeah, a week ago, my wife went out and took the kids while I was at work to take cookies to neighbors who she knows because they're Mormons and they bring us stuff even though we've never fucking gone. And she came home and we're talking at night. She's like, I think we need to be Mormon again. And immediately I was like, I'm not fucking paying tithing. She's like, oh, well, not that Mormon. I'm not gonna stop drinking coffee. And she's like seriously wanting to go back to church, not believing in any of this shit. So this is not a man thing. In fact, if I had to, I don't know, if I had to put a guess out there, I'd say it's more a woman thing because I honestly think the church is more structured for women than it is for men, especially modern church, and especially the mission. Like I've said this a million times before. That John Larson thing you always bring up. I remember saying that before I even knew about John Larson, that I don't call the church a cult for this and this and this reason, but I definitely call the mission a cult. But the addendum I would add onto that is that when I hear a man tell me how much he loved his mission, I'm pretty skeptical. I'm usually like, how? I do not understand how you could do that. But every woman I've heard tell me about how awesome her mission was, almost every one of them, like, I think I believe you. Like, I think I actually believe that you enjoyed it. It's like an extreme version of public school.
Maybe
but
didn't like
even
hers.
more moderate.
But Jared, is that a wine glass?
This is a wine glass. No, I also, I'm not going to stop drinking wine, and I'm not going to stop.
Are you
I'm
drinking
not
wine?
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about what type.
It's white Zinfandel. I can tell from here.
Is it?
Is it sweet?
Well, yeah. I don't know. Let's see. It says Sunset Blush.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know. I just grabbed it briefly. I was like, I've never tried a wine that's pink.
Dude, you're growing a vagina right now from drinking that.
Shut up, Dick. The liquor store's closed today, okay? I had to have something, and I was at Walmart picking up some cheese.
It's okay to like terrible, sweet blush wine.
I don't like it. It tastes like alcohol. I don't like any alcohol. It all tastes like ass.
I just made some crazy Stranger Things connections. I'll get into it in a second. Hold on.
yeah, the church to me is like Santa. Like, yes, it's not true, but when you think of Santa, you think of all the magic and goodness of childhood and youth. Yeah, this is why I always say that men have the privilege. Men in the church have the privilege of looking back at it.
Privilege. Like,
because
every
for them,
one of these anti-John Dolin TikTok mentioned the word privilege. Like,
it was fun. It was great. It was magical because the church is.
It's part of the audience capture of like why Dolin can't even try to say anything ecumenical like that. He just
No, it's
quite
like
literally.
Just this whole thing where it's like, because we have shit hard on John Dolin, and like, because I wasn't here for a couple weeks ago, but I listened to your episode where like, because apparently like he's, I don't know, maybe not backtracking is the right word.
No, he's just thinking about it more about how we all think it. And Troy and Jonathan did the long episode of thinking of religion as a type of technology, morality technology, and how it keeps groups together and binds them, and like the 40,000 foot view.
But even just like just the concept of tolerance, where like, and these are all the privilege. These are all the tolerance people. Like, they're the people who use tolerance, in that magical way, and here they are completely misunderstanding the point of tolerance. Of like, there's I don't have to believe Mormonism to be able to look at it and say there are good things in it.
Yeah, Radio Free Mormon says it's normal for Mormons to transfer prophet status when they leave. Yeah, and they definitely kind of do that with the Lynn. But the way that they come at somebody who I don't think his stance has changed on wanting things better in a feminist way, you know.
Created for them and their benefit. Yeah, that's the whole.
And that's one of the areas that drives me nuts. It drives all of us nuts when we talk about it. It's for us and for our benefit and all that sorts of things. But talk to me when you all were pressured into giving up 2 years of your entire life to maybe they're getting pressured to do that nowadays. They're gonna make it. They're gonna make it.
It was so fucking nice to you. It was so nice to you. I bring this up a lot, but like I'm remembering growing up, going to priesthood session, and they were all the talks were fucking doom and gloom about pornography and masturbation and how like we were basically going to hell for that. And then you go to one talk in the fucking women's general meeting or whatever, Quentin L. Cook, the name of the talk, LDS women are incredible or amazing. I don't remember the exact word he used, but it was one of those LDS women are incredible. You can't find a counterpart for that for men. And as soon as you bring
Gordon
that up,
B. Hinckley said, "You aren't much to look at, but you're all we have."
yeah, that was the first thing I got when I was in the MTC. A 70 came and talked to us, and he was like, "Elders, you're not that good, but you're the best we've got." And I'm like, thanks, man. Like, thanks, because what do you mean?
When did the beehives have to drive around on a fast lane to collect money? Yeah,
I know. I don't even know how to say it. It was better for you, all right? It was built for you. You liked it more than I did. I hated it. Church was at best boring. Mission was insufferable. I hated every fucking second of my mission.
Oh, it's like the old
Steve. I expect a comic version of that coming this week.
It's like the old argument. It's like whoever really privileges is the whatever top 2% of the people who are going to make it all the way to the top and ride out a full career and all that sort of stuff. It is a sacrifice and struggle and a difficult one for all others. You know what I mean? And some of them view that as a benefit in their life, the struggle of it. But it's not just like, hey guys, here's lollipops and pancakes and come over here into this room and it's just fun free time for you.
Blush is making fun of me. Wade is making fun of me. He's making fun of me for my wine. Just like, thanks, Flip, you dickhead. Pointing out my girl wine that I'm drinking.
I just think it's like my favorite part is that you actually put it in a wine glass. Where like you could drink that out of a fucking Dixie cup, and that would be more appropriate.
I jokingly said to my wife that it's Christmas. I need to use a wine glass for wine, and I brought it down here, and now I'm being made fun of, and it's bullshit. But Wade said,
dry wine. Do you like? I mean, is dry wine just nothing for you? There's no.
I don't know what dry wine means.
Not sweet, like real wine. Well,
Sure.
I shouldn't say that because there are sweet wines that are good. Okay, I've got a
I gotta get a booze corner.
I've got a wine homework for you. I want you to go
almost
spend
never
at
drink
least-
wine.
I want you to spend. Do you like curry? Do you like spicy curry food?
Yeah.
Okay. Next time you're doing spicy curry food, you need to go to a half decent wine store, and I want you to spend at least $25 on a German Riesling wine, and like a nice, something decent. Doesn't have to be really fancy, but a decent German Cabernet Riesling. Cabernet spelled like a German would spell Cabernet. And have that with your spicy curry. And tell me what you think of that.
Okay. Maybe. I don't know. Well, Wade said, is the blush bringing out the trauma? It's not trauma. It's just something that kind of sucked. That's really what when I look back at Mormonism growing up, it was a lot of things that were pretty good for me, but I didn't care about much. And then some things that just kind of sucked.
I don't know. I would call the mission traumatic. Like, it was just such a.
If I were gonna call
having dreams, like nightmares about it, like 25 years after.
See, like everything that
that
sucked
sounds like
about
a
my
trauma.
mission, like the things that were traumatic about my mission were entirely well, here's a nod to Carden. It was bureaucratic bullshit. Like it was the church, like it wasn't the normal things that people go through with trauma in my mission. Like all the shitty things were weird members fucking with us and having an incompetent mission president and sociopathic APs. You know, like that's what
But you don't think just like being there and waking up in the middle of it every single day.
That was the worst part for me. That was the worst part for me was just sitting there every minute of every day thinking of how much longer I had to do this shit.
No, like, I don't know, like yeah, for me it was a different thing. Like,
what we talked about, I think you were gone last week. I think we talked about whatever that movie was where the guy goes to the Philippines and has his mission, and it's a big Mormon movie. And Starbase reminded me of the name last week, but I can't remember it. And that, I don't know, that experience kind of sounds fun to me. The experience of like, you believe in this shit, we're going to turn you loose on this population and you try to convert as many people as you can. And then the amount of oversight. So yeah, I guess essentially it might have been the bureaucracy of like, you're not a warrior, you're in a cubicle, and we're going to monitor every move that you make and treat you as if you are an untrustworthy child.
Charles says I have the same reoccurring mission nightmares. Yeah,
dude, my mission nightmares have gotten a lot better over the years because now it's like my brain is so far removed from the Mormon church that if I have a dream that I'm on my mission, even in my dream, I'll be like, fuck you. I'm in Brazil now. I'm going to just go explore Brazil. And then I just walk off and do it. And yeah, you'll send me home at some point. That's fine.
You know what? The panic dreams that I've been having for the last year, like, so ever since I quit smoking pot, I've been having recurring versions of a panic dream where I'm hanging around with people smoking pot. And I'll say like, well, I can't do that anymore because of my job. And then I will absentmindedly smoke pot. And in my dream, I panic because like, oh shit, I could lose my job.
Oh, dude, my bad dreams are brutal. They usually entail me being like dismembered, and like I don't wake up the second I start being dismembered. Well, I just like last night, I woke up at 4 a.m. in a sweat because I got this dream where I got my 2 older boys, and we're on this ride. It's like not a dream, a theme park ride where it's just like a ski lift and it's taking you like 500 fucking feet in the air. We get to the top and it jolts just a little bit, and August just slips off the side, and I reach down and I grab him, and I'm just holding on with my fingertips, and so I can't pull him up or else I'm going to lose my grip. So I'm like trying to figure out how to slowly swing him to my other arm. And at some point I realized it was a dream, so I just woke up. So he didn't plummet in my dream. But those are most of my dreams, is my kids are in just the most insane positions.
This guy's like said overall my mission was negative even as a TBM. I would have internally admitted as much. Like, because I think about my mission and like it was hard and it was boring. Like, you know, the number one feeling I have for my mission is just we had nothing to do. But I've talked about that before where, like, you know, I went to a place that was already burnt over as far as Mormons were concerned. So we just had nothing to fucking do. But like the shitty, traumatic shit that happened to me on my dream, I can point to 3 people in leadership and be like, you are the people who fucked it up.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I externally admitted it. Like I said it to a couple of my companions after the like year mark. I was like, I hate this. I hate being here. I hate every second of it.
Where did Steve go on a mission? He said he had lots of diarrhea.
He says that his dreams are that he goes on a second mission, and those are most of my dreams too. I'm getting sent out a second time.
Oh yeah,
in my adult life, or I'm already on it, and I'm like, what? I have a job. I got to call my job and tell them I'm not going to be in tomorrow.
I had those 2 or 3 times a week for a good decade after my mission. I don't have them. I still have them, but
maybe about once every quarter.
Yeah.
Radio Free Mormon says if you didn't love your mission, you wasted 2 years of your life. And you felt pressured like that in the middle of it too. You felt like if you sinned at all in the middle of it, then you were now wasting the time. And you're like, I would rather be anywhere but here. Oh, and now I'm making it a waste of time because I looked at that girl sideways a little bit, even though she's toothless or whatever. I'm not allowed to masturbate, and now everything looks good. Okay.
Wait, so because I planned on only popping in for a few minutes and taking off because I got to work early tomorrow and I work late tonight.
This is the last.
Oh yeah, let's finish this. But then I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Told from the day that they're born that they're special just because of what's down there in their pants. Imagine the messaging that
Nobody's told that. Nobody. That's not the message. You dumb bitch.
Here, meanwhile, the women in the church, were just being slut shamed and sex shamed. He literally told not to be too loud. Told like the mental torture and emotional abuse of being a woman in the church.
I was told to be. They said, "Oh, be louder." That was the message I got. Like,
Women were told
out,
not
whip
to
your
be
dick out and yell. That was the message I got.
Hey, Chris, when it comes to sex, spray it all over, buddy. That's what they said to me. Like, get out there, you just spray it all over.
My biggest pushback to this is women were literally told not to be too loud, and I was like, well, if you were, it didn't work.
I can see why that was a problem for you.
I had this dude. This is why California missionaries were cool, but he would swear in his prayers, and it was in the middle of his prayer, he'd be like, "What the hell, God? What was that? God damn it!"
I swore in English.
Because and that was one of the first things that really gave me comfort when I left the church. I was like, oh my gosh, there's a whole community of us that are like traumatized from the LDS church. It's just not a safe space for me. And it's so irritating.
Now they're traumatized by John DeLynn being ecumenical with the
It's just so irritating how he can have like all these like men and women, gay, straight, come on his podcast and just share
all who want the church to lean out on that stuff so they can go back. Almost all of them.
the trauma that the church has caused them, and then just to be like all willy-nilly about like, oh, I'd love to go. If the church welcomed me back, like the church is getting better. He said the church is getting better. John, I can't with you. So
like can it get better?
Are they allowed to? If they do, is that okay with you if they make progressive changes?
I'm going to say something just real quick before you had the last question to ask me, but on Stranger Things, there's this gal named Callie.
Oh yeah,
she's Indian and she's got superpowers, and they're talking about
And
her.
she has an aggressive lesbian haircut.
I thought this up because we were talking about the roots of feminism. If you remember, one time we talked about the cult of Kali. The cult of Kali was the cult that feminist cult, the Thuggies. They were featured in Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom.
Damn.
And that cult was a feminist cult that would sacrifice men to the goddess of Kali, who is the goddess of death and all that sorts of stuff. And Gloria Steinem, when she made her very first book called Miss, this book here, there's Kali, the goddess, on the front of her first magazine and all that sorts of stuff. And I think one of the weird things, because Stranger Things is always kind of doing lore from the 80s, right? Maybe they purposely named that girl Kali, referring to the cult in the Temple of Doom. And I always think it's funny because one of the main things that people said the reason the Temple of Doom didn't work is because George Lucas's super feminist wife was divorcing him at the time. And in that time, he wrote in the cult of Kali and the Thuggies and all these sorts of people as the bad guy, terrible, horrible people who were coming down on him. I think Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is an anti-feminist screed.
So
isn't that the one where, because like the female in that one is the one where she just yells,
she just screams, all the way through it.
Screams
and all these other men are tied up in the cult of Kali, just trying to kill people for the goddess who just wants more and more death.
So you got the goddess of death who is a feminist. Why does she have an intact fetus in her womb?
Oh, it's getting aborted soon.
Yeah, I guess.
Death and chaos, man. John,
But,
right on the Housewives' moment of truth. Anyway,
before I go, Chris, how did you feel after half a bottle of scotch last week?
Oh yeah.
Couldn't you tell I was plowed?
No, I'm saying the next day.
What?
How was
Oh,
the hangover?
Did you have a hangover?
I was still drunk the next day.
After that, you probably were sweating peat smoke.
No, I just kind of pretty much fell asleep and woke up kind of still drunk, and then yeah, I was loopy and falling around and not walking straight, and I don't even know how I got to my bed, and then yeah, I woke up feeling kind of sheepish. I'd been so obliterated.
Yeah, you didn't have to work or anything, right? You just had to take the dog out.
No, yeah, and then by the time I walked the dog, it kind of
was Huckleberry looking at you funny, like, okay?
Yeah, he was like, "What the hell? What the hell is this?" Yeah.
That thing is like, I mean, drinking a lot of anything, obviously you feel it, but like single malt Scotch, that's its own thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and not drink again until
Starbase
next New Year's.
Starbase said you seem totally sober. Couldn't tell on stream at all. I don't know if he's being sarcastic, but you gotta be. You're sarcastic, right? Like that's.
Did you? But so you liked that Scotch, right? You thought that was good. I mean,
yeah, it tasted good, but I'm not gonna get into that. I don't like. In the end of all things, I'm like, yep, this isn't. Well, I mean, it worked real fast. Stuff doesn't usually work that fast on me, and I didn't realize I drank as much as I had until I looked at the bottle in the morning.
I think it was 10 years before that was the only other time I saw you. Like that time you had Abalor, which is a space side, which wasn't peaty at all and more fruitcakey and desserty. And I remember you saying like, "Oh, I like this. I could drink this." But
yeah, I'm gonna go.
We got to work you up all the way.
I'm gonna go ahead and not make a habit of it, just like I decided to not make a habit of any of the drugs I ever tried. Or I guess I just have a habit of this stupid vape, which I only started doing to try to get off the cigars, and now I'm stuck on the vape.
Jeez.
Yeah. But
that was one of my fun
like,
dreams.
I like that when you drink once every decade that you're drinking the best thing of all, which is
that's the same thing that always happens to me whenever you guys make me smoke weed once every decade, and you give me way too strong of stuff. And
well, like I said, I made the joke a long time ago that like if Chris and I are passengers on a Bush plane being flown by a single pilot in Alaska, and so the pilot has a heart attack and one of us has to take the controls and put on the headphones and get talked down by air traffic control. If we're both high, I fly the plane. If we're both on acid, Chris flies the plane.
Yeah, there's stuff that I can champion through like you wouldn't believe, and then there's stuff that I can't.
The last time I saw you on weed, like you were in the M hole. Like there's the ketamine hole, the K hole.
Oh yeah.
Like I've seen people in a K hole. You're the only person I ever see go into the M hole.
I think I can't control my thoughts on weed. Like they all just come, and then on the opposite happens on psychedelics. I can hyper control my thoughts to be anything that I want to do. And one time on acid, I went to the gym and lifted for.
Yeah, like you're like the guy who pitched a perfect game on acid. Yeah. But like I saw you smoke pot once at a party, and like you might as well have been furniture. Like,
oh yeah, well at that point I start wondering what human interaction even is at all. Like, why are these monkeys all in front of each other? I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's how I get on fire.
Like,
I can't function.
At this party, they turned one of the rooms into the basement was the dance hall, and so they had like loud music and there was a bunch of people dancing and they had lights and everything and all that. And Chris was just leaned against the wall on the floor, motionless.
Yeah, and a gal came and talked to me and she said, why are you always so quiet? And I go, I'm not talking? Like I didn't know.
And then the other thing about that party that was fascinating is that totally out of the blue, to this day, I have no idea what the connection is, but walked in
John
Larson's ex-wife Zelfa being trailed by 3 puppy dog men.
Zelfa, not to tell tales out of school, but I guess we're telling tales out of school. She didn't leave John Larson for another guy. She left him for
3 sycophants.
Yeah, for 3 guys. Yeah,
that's all of the. You know how I always get those lusty romance novels, like sponsored ads on Facebook because I keep commenting on them. I keep getting these ones from this same specific woman. I can't remember her exact name, but they're all like 3 of them in the past 2 months that I've gotten from her have been 3 different guys impregnated me with triplets.
Oh, the sex that we showed that one. It was like a hockey one.
We did. That was the hockey one, but it's the same lady that wrote this one that I got today, and it was my ex left me, but his billionaire silver fox dad and his two also billionaire super ripped out of their mind brothers all impregnated me. And I was like, what do you mean all impregnated you? That doesn't make sense.
I haven't done many drugs in a long time, although I will tell you this, and you guys maybe didn't know it. I did stream once on acid and nobody knew.
Oh, I remember.
Do I remember that? I don't think I remember.
I don't think I told people, but
Well, you told us after.
yeah. So
I
but
don't remember
yeah,
that.
I it's been
No,
a long while since I've done
on acid.
any
I
drugs.
didn't notice. I like if you had asked me like which strain do you think Chris was on acid for? I was like, I'd been like, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
and he told us like, man, I kind of fucked up one of those clips. Maybe I shouldn't have dropped acid before. You dropped acid.
Yeah, but I'm not like I think generally like I genuinely it's been maybe since then, and that had been the first time in a while that I don't have like what's his name, Leary or whatever those drug guys said. Once you get the message, you can hang up the phone. I feel like in general I can hang up the phone with most of that stuff. Oh wait, no, Flip and I tried to do mushrooms one time, and we had a total bust. And that was the last time we ever tried to do it. Like we were like nothing happened.
I feel like the last 5 to 10 times, I can't even tell.
Maybe it's just getting worse. They don't.
It's been 15 years since I've like properly tripped balls. But like you say, like I don't really have a strong desire. It's something I don't think about. Like, everyone's trying to think like, maybe someday it'll be fun to try doing that again. But like, it's pretty far low on my list.
I
of
don't know.
priorities.
Shrooms are fun as hell.
Well, that's the
last time we had
like
a
I said,
total
like you
bust.
said, like I kind of like, well, I've done that thing, and yeah, like if I never do them again, I'll be fine.
Well, here's my thing with shrooms. It was fun enough to me that I was like, okay, if I had unlimited access to this and zero restrictions on how often I could use it, I'd probably use it twice a year because I don't want to ruin the experience because
Like-
it was just fun.
Because that's because there's a period of about 5-10 years. I'm not even sure where like I did it a lot of times. Like
I got to the point, and maybe this is a good thing that it can teach you, that I was like, this is just another type of being, and sober is one of them. Sober is also a weird, just kind of tripping experience, if that makes sense. And that's what shrooms made me feel. It was like sober's a thing too. The fact that we're conscious and looking at each other and talking at all.
yeah,
Well, there's a
so
part of
before
shrooms.
I went to England, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get high because it's 2 weeks before I have to go back to work, so there's no chance I can get in trouble for this. And it was the day before I left, and I got home, and I still had to pack, and I was like, and I got way too high, and I'm like, okay, it was so high that I didn't have fun, and I'm like, well, that's good, like, because
you finally experienced that.
yeah, like I was like, holy shit, this is bonkers. But that's the thing, is like, I was just telling them, just yesterday I was hanging out with people, and because like I think like during the nightmarish hell of my life for 20 years, like I kind of wonder if this is heavy topic, but like I don't think it's unreasonable that being high all the time kept me alive.
Yeah.
Because I was
there was a
suicidal
time
during a
period
lot
when-
of that time, and like being able to just get high and get numb stopped me from just perseverating on that the way it could have gone, because that's like, that's basically how I feel now. It's because like, now everything's fine. I'm having the most fun I've ever had in my life. And yeah, like I kind of wonder, because like, part of me is like, fuck, like the money I spent on weed in 15 years of smoking weed, like I could have put a down payment on a house. But also like,
and I could
as
from
far as
Diet Coke.
yeah, like, but as far as like medicating yourself, like, yeah, I think that weed was way more effective in helping me cope with my bullshit. Certainly more effective than therapists and Prozac and any of the other shit they tried to give me. Like weed worked in that sense, and it probably cost about as much as, a prescription for whatever drugs.
Yeah. Anyway.
Alrighty, I should go. I got to work early tomorrow.
I think it's time to call it. We've
Oh.
hit the whole entire long timey. So
Well, that was a
you were a
weird
lazy lure. You were a creedal atheist.
Again.
Lazy lure. Henry Vecna is just the Stranger Things thing.
I don't even know. Like I did that for Jacob, but I don't think he noticed. Jacob, did you notice?
It was pretty funny. I laughed at it last week, and I laughed at it again.
Yeah,
this
I didn't
week.
have. Well, this thing I always run into is that like during the week, I'll be driving around and I'll think like, oh, that's it. That's my name. It's like,
Yeah,
well, it's
me
like
too.
yeah, and like, but like Chris just did a post on Facebook about his brain about like, I'm gonna put this here so I remember it. And every week I do that with my funny name for the podcast.
Oh, and then
like
you did it.
on Monday afternoon, I'm like, I've got it.
I actually
And then,
did that this week too.
like-
I had a better one.
I'll be driving home from work on Thursday, going like, "Fuck, what was that?"
I'll text Morgan sometimes when I really think to do it. I'll text Morgan. I'll be like, "This is my nickname for the stream. Don't worry about it." She'll be like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?"
You know, like that thing is like, I guess the smart thing is to. I remember Scott Adams in one of his books talking about this. Like, you need to write down your ideas. You have to write down your ideas. And he said, like, one day he was driving and he had an idea and he had nothing to write with, but his car was dirty. So he got out of his car and wrote his idea on his car in the dirt with his finger, just as a way to preserve the idea.
That's smart. I have a rule with myself when I write songs, because I'm always writing songs of the band, that if I don't remember it, it wasn't worth it. So I'll come up with something like, that's a thing. Oh, this is coming pretty good. And then I'll just put the guitar down and walk away. And if I come back, I'm like, what was that? I'm like, nope, wasn't good enough. You know?
Yeah, that's not a bad system.
But I forget stuff all the time I mean to talk about on here. But from the start of this, I was going to ask you guys what you thought the 3 biggest stories of the year were.
Oh,
but, didn't get to it. Didn't get
No,
to the number.
but-
The first thing I was going to say.
You reminded me of the thing that I wanted to talk about is because the recurring theme of this show is if I was dictator of the world thing. I have a new dictator of the world rule, which is it's kind of like a form of social credit, but just for parking at Costco. And it's two things one is like, unless the reverse lights are on, you can't stop and wait for that spot to come open.
Oh, yeah.
Because like the people who like you'll see like the family, the Latin American family with 5 kids and 2 giant carts will be pushing toward the car, and people are like, oh, I'm gonna stop and wait for these guys. You know, and it takes them 10 minutes to load up. Like, nope, that's not allowed. And then the second half of that is once your reverse lights go on, you have 5 seconds to start backing out of that space. And so those two things, like if you stop and wait for somebody unless their brake lights are on, or if you put your car in reverse and don't fucking move, under my social credit system, you will be banned from parking within 300 yards of the entrance of Costco.
These
You have to
are
park in the car
modern new rules.
Well, I've been doing that in my Facebook, like my local city Facebook page. I've been making new rules. Have you noticed it like an influx lately of people backing into parking spots?
Yeah.
Well, because people have backup cameras now, so it's possible.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
No, but like here's the thing. I'm like I understand somewhat the desire, but also the desire in itself is stupid because backing out of a spot is way easier than backing into a spot.
That's true.
It takes way less time. But also the rule is if there's somebody behind you waiting to get beyond you, you don't get to back into a spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, like
You just go into the spot like a normal fucking person.
That is the thing I noticed about the UK is like driving in the UK, there's way more a sense of don't be in the fucking way. Don't be in the way. Don't be in the way. Which is amazing because it's way easier to be in the way there because there's no fucking room. And it's like kind of obnoxious that in Utah where we've got nothing but space and people still manage to be in the fucking way. It's kind of magical.
I don't have a ton of car ones, but this is my stupid rule that I think the whole world should pick up, and it's in bathrooms. If you're in a single bathroom and somebody's in there taking a shit and somebody else comes in to piss, if you're the one in there shitting, stay in there until the pisser leaves. Somehow they
That's a
all
good
just
rule.
hustle on out there and stare at you in the eyes. I was just shitting. Like, stay. It'll just take me a second to piss. Let me get out of here.
That is good. Yeah, that's accurate.
All right. Well, I gotta go take my kid to bed.
Okay.
Okay.
You gotta walk a dog.
I
I gotta
gotta
pet a cat.
finish watching Stranger Things and get inspired to be gay. Okay.
All right.
All right. See you guys.